Chapter 1076. Stupid. Corinne said, "There is a big difference even among the treasured tools. They are divided into low-grade treasured tools, middle-grade treasured tools, high-grade treasured tools, and peerless treasured tools. There is a big gap between each grade, and their might cannot be mentioned in the same breath. Spirit artifacts are the same as artifacts. They are divided into low-grade, middle-grade, high-grade, and peerless artifacts. The artifacts that you saw on the bodies of the Red Scarf thieves are actually standard weapons. They belong to low-grade artifacts. Although they are stronger than ordinary weapons, they are also common weapons in the universe. They are nothing." He explained to Xiaoping the difference between artifacts. Even among artifacts of the same grade, they are divided into different grades. And this low-grade spirit artifact, Black Horn Armor, is not simple. Its defense is very strong. It is much stronger than the universal defense suit you are wearing. If you have enough magic power, you can even resist the attack of an artifact refining realm. Corinne pointed at the Black Horn Armor in Xiaoping's hand. The reason why the Red Scarf thieves could survive is probably because of the defensive power of this low-grade spirit artifact. Hearing these words, Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He knew that he had picked up a big treasure this time. Wearing this Black Horn Armor, not to mention being able to resist the attack of an artifact refining realm, even being able to resist the attack of a divine realm would be amazing. It could be said that he could walk sideways in the cloud realm with just this spirit artifact. He was simply an unkillable tortoise. Thinking of this, he immediately poured his magic power into it. He wanted to completely refine this Black Horn Armor and take it for himself. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He quickly discovered that when his magic power and mental power tried to enter this artifact, he encountered a lot of resistance. It seemed that this spirit artifact was resisting his refinement. Do you feel that it is difficult to refine? That's right, because artifacts have a spirit. Although it is a low-grade spirit artifact, it also has a weak consciousness. It can distinguish between good and evil and know right and wrong. Corinne slightly smiled. You killed its master before, so you have enmity with it, so how could it be willing to be refined by you? Naturally it will resist. But you don't have to worry. As long as you keep this spiritual artifact by your side, it will probably not take long for it to soften towards you. It will develop a good impression of you and accept being refined by you. Hey, my God, Xiaoping, what the hell are you doing? Didn't I tell you to slowly reform it? Why are you forcing yourself on me? It had originally wanted to teach Xiaoping how to treat this spiritual weapon well, using love and kindness to slowly influence it. However, it did not expect that Xiaoping's aura would suddenly increase, almost reaching its peak state. A terrifying amount of magic power and mental power was like a tide, crazily surging into this low-grade spiritual weapon. Instantly it was shocked. And the tool spirit of the Black Horn Armor also felt this enormous power, and it was immediately enraged. This hateful human actually wants to use brute force to subdue me. He simply doesn't know how to write the word, death. A powerful mental power gushed out from the depths of this low-grade spiritual weapon, and bombarded towards Xiaoping, counterattacking, trying to destroy Xiaoping's power. However, when this tool spirit's power came into contact with Xiaoping's mental power, it immediately felt endless alarm. It seemed to have sensed that a terrifying divine bird was hiding in the depths of Xiaoping's soul. It was a sun containing the power of destruction, darkness, destruction, burning, and so on. It was as if just coming into contact with it would destroy everything in the world. Not to mention that it was only a small tool spirit. Facing such a powerful soul energy, it immediately burned, emitting a large amount of white smoke. Immediately, it did not dare to resist and quickly retreated. Otherwise its mind would be destroyed. Boom! In the next second, Xiaoping's magic power instantly gushed into the depths of this Black Horn Armor. At the same time, his mental power also left his own mental imprint on this low-grade spiritual weapon, completely controlling it. Immediately, this Black Horn Armor, which originally weighed 1,000 kilograms, became as light as a feather after Xiaoping refined it. It was as light as a piece of white paper in his hand. This was the power of a spiritual weapon. It could change into a myriad of forms, and it could even become invisible. Even if it was worn on the body, it wouldn't feel anything. If there was any danger, it could immediately appear and deliver a fatal attack. This. Corinne was speechless. It completely didn't expect that with the power on Xiaoping's body, he could actually subdue the tool spirit of Xiaoping's spiritual weapon in an instant. It was simply too inconceivable. If it was a cultivator of the divine power realm or the artifact refinement realm, it could still imagine that under absolute power, even a spiritual weapon would have no choice but to submit. The problem was that Xia Ping was only at the Purple Mansion realm. His mental power was simply not enough to subdue a low-grade spiritual weapon. Alright, this lower-grade spirit weapon belongs to me now. Xia Ping was very satisfied. He immediately took off the universal protective suit on his body and put on the black horn armor. This way his defensive power was even more terrifying than before. And the black horn armor obediently submitted. It no longer dared to throw a tantrum and acknowledged Xia Ping's position as its master. How did you do it? Corinne couldn't help but ask. This is like taming a wild beast. If you don't accept it, just give it a beating. Xia Ping said carelessly, since it has wisdom and since it also understands what is called power cannot encroach. The corner of Corinne's mouth twitched. It also knew this truth. The problem is that it was a low-grade spiritual weapons tool spirit. How could it be casually beaten? If it provoked the low-grade spiritual weapon, even a Purple Mansion realm cultivator would be devoured to death by the backlash. In the universe, it was unknown how many times a cultivator couldn't tame a spiritual weapon and ended up being devoured by the spiritual weapon. These were all lessons learned from the mistakes of the past. But thinking about it carefully, this kid was simply a monster. To be able to do this kind of thing, perhaps it was not worth making a fuss about. He had done even more astonishing things. This was nothing. That's right. Xia Ping didn't want to continue to pay attention to this problem. He continued to check his harvest. Suddenly he found a green gourd on Yu Bo's body. He reached out and opened the lid. Suddenly, a rich fragrance floated out, making his limbs and bones incomparably comfortable. Even the spiritual power in his body seemed to have increased a little. What kind of treasure is this? Xia Ping immediately knew that this gourd contained an absolutely incredible treasure. Just smelling the fragrance had such an amazing effect. If he took it, it would be even better. This is the 5-elemental liquid. Corinne took a look and was very excited. Kid, you really have dog shit luck. The 5-elemental liquid is one of the more advanced spiritual medicines in the universe for enhancing spiritual power. It is made from the 5 kinds of spiritual liquids of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. After going through a special configuration, it is finally concocted into a spiritual liquid. Compared to your previous spiritual liquids, who knows how many times better. Chapter 1077. 5 Elemental Liquids. Hearing this, Xia Ping's eyes lit up. After he advanced to the Violet Palace realm, he knew how difficult it was to strengthen his own magic power. Without any external help, he wouldn't be able to break through a small stage by merely relying on absorbing the heaven and earth essence force for tens of years. Back then, the Swordfish King and the other Purple Mansion realm demon kings were all stuck at the Purple Mansion realm for hundreds of years and couldn't break through. It wasn't because they weren't talented enough, but because the speed at which they absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and condensed it into spiritual energy was just too slow. Even after a few hundred years, he had barely broken through to the late stage of the Purple Mansion realm. If he wanted to quickly increase his magic power, there was a way, and that was to consume heaven and earth elixirs. The problem was that ordinary spirit medicines were useless to King Realm cultivators, but spirit medicines that were effective to King Realm cultivators were too rare in the Sky Realm. Even if it existed, it would basically be snatched away by the Divine Ability Realm cultivators. How would it be the turn of a Purple Mansion Realm cultivator? Therefore, after reaching the Violet Palace realm, the Monarch Realm's cultivation would slow down. Sometimes they wouldn't be able to break through even after dozens of years. What a treasure! Xia Ping was very satisfied as he looked at the 5-elemental liquid in the gourd. He felt that if he were to consume it, it would definitely greatly increase his magic power. Even in the universe, the 5-elemental liquid is a priceless treasure. It costs at least 10 million universe dollars to buy. Corinne clicked his tongue and said, I reckon that this red scarf thief has a noble status, and his net worth is not low, so he can afford to buy 5 elemental liquids for his own cultivation. Being able to use 5 elemental liquids so extravagantly is rarely seen. In the universe, those who could use the 5 elemental liquids so extravagantly were few and far between. Unless one was from a large family, one would not dare to be so extravagant. One gourd was 10 million universe credits. Who would dare to be so extravagant? Battleship. That's right. This space battleship might contain some treasures. I have to look for them. Xia Ping also thought of the space battleship that was floating in the sea. Although he had plundered Jing Cheng and Yu Bo, the 2 red scarf thieves, and obtained a lot of harvest, he was still not satisfied. He wanted to plunder all the treasures here first. Whoosh. His figure flickered and immediately headed towards the Cosmos battleship. At the same time, he let Corinne turn on the exploration instrument to analyze what special treasures were left in the battleship. Half an hour later, Corinne searched the warship inside and out. No, this battleship doesn't have any 5 elemental liquids. Corinne shook his head. Perhaps there were, but they might have been destroyed in the explosion just now. So, this warship doesn't have any special treasures? Xia Ping was a bit disappointed. That's not it either. Corinne smiled faintly and said, this cosmic battleship itself is a huge treasure, and there are a lot of mechanical parts inside. These are all treasures that cannot be found in the cloud realm. With my Corinne's technology as well as some spare parts left behind in the base, I can create 30 liquid robots with the battle prowess of the divine power realm. What? Hearing this, Xia Ping was shocked. If he could create 30 liquid robots at the transcendent realm, he would be invincible in the heavenly realm. After all, after this catastrophe, there were less than 30 divine power realm experts in the entire heavenly realm. The appearance of this group of liquid metal robots in transcendent realm was definitely a superpower. They were invincible, and it wouldn't be a problem for them to unify the entire heavenly realm. Apart from that, I also found a large number of energy blocks. Corinne was beaming with joy. These energy blocks are the energy reserves of this battleship. They are worth 20 million universe dollars. With these energy blocks, our spaceship can cross several star fields without a problem. Even if we fly out of the universe in a short period of time, we won't lack energy. It felt that this was the biggest harvest this time. After all, if they wanted to leave the heavenly realm, the lunar god ship wouldn't be able to fly far without enough energy. The battleship exploded, but the energy blocks weren't destroyed? Xia Ping asked. Corinne shook his head. Of course not, because they are stored in the safe of the battleship. Even if there was a nuclear explosion, it wouldn't be able to damage the safe at all. So, the energy blocks stored inside are undamaged and all of them are ours. He was very proud. Are we leaving the heavenly realm? Xia Ping's eyes flickered. Although he knew that he would leave the heavenly realm sooner or later, he didn't expect that he would have to leave this place right after he advanced to the Purple Mansion realm. He was more or less reluctant. Of course we have to leave. Corinne's tone was very serious. Think about it carefully. Now that we have killed this group of Red Scarf bandits, there is no doubt that this news can't be hidden. It won't take long for the higher-ups of the Red Scarf bandits to know. At that time, when the real Red Scarf bandits come down, can the heavenly realm still resist? If the forces of the heavenly realm can't resist, then planet Yanhuang will be in danger. Those Red Scarf bandits will never care about occupying another indigenous planet. Hearing these words, Xia Ping was also shocked. Through this incident, he finally understood how dangerous the universe was, especially this group of ferocious interstellar bandits. Even if they destroyed a planet and killed tens of billions of living beings, they would definitely not blink or shed a single tear. If they died, it might be better, at least they wouldn't suffer. The worst was to be caught by them and sold as slaves, forever unable to reincarnate. He didn't want to see his parents fall into such a fate. So you must leave the heavenly realm and find a way to fight against the Red Scarf bandits, Corinne said solemnly. But Corinne, you have lived in the universe for so long and are very knowledgeable. Don't you have a good way to deal with this group of Red Scarf bandits? Xia Ping asked. Corinne thought for a moment. There is a way. If you have enough universe coins, maybe you can buy a planetary defense system. It can cover the entire continent and every corner. With this planetary defense system, unless you are a saint, no matter how many people come, they will die. Xia Ping blinked his eyes. So powerful? This planetary defense system must be very expensive. Of course it is expensive, at least 100 billion universe coins. Corinne glanced at him. Xia Ping's mouth twitched. Of course, if you think it is expensive, there is actually another way, that is to ask a saint to take action. As long as a saint appears, that group of Red Scarf bandits will naturally not dare to be arrogant and will obediently shrink back. Corinne proposed the second method. Xia Ping curled his lips. This was more unreliable than the first method. If he wanted to ask a saint to take action, 100 billion universe coins was probably not enough. Of course there is a third method. That is to join a saint's sect and become a core disciple of this sect. Corinne's eyes flickered. If you are a core figure of this saint's sect and your hometown is in trouble, the sect will naturally stand up for you. With the protection of a big shot, the Red Scarf bandits will not dare to act recklessly. Xia Ping touched his chin. He felt that these three methods were very difficult, but they all had their merits. However, now was not the time to think about these things. He had to settle everything in the heavenly realm first before thinking about it. Chapter 1078. The news of the alien fleet being wiped out could not be hidden. Or rather, there was no need to hide it at all. It quickly spread throughout the cloud realm and was known to all races. First, the human world was excited. Great. I knew those alien beasts wouldn't have a good ending. Haha, those aliens were arrogant and dared to massacre our human cities. Now they're getting their comeuppance. Well done. It's a pity I didn't go to the battlefield myself. Otherwise, I would have killed a few aliens to satisfy my craving. Stop bragging. They probably peed their pants before even going up. Countless humans were very excited. Those aliens had been so arrogant before, driving their battleships to wipe out cities and islands. It was as if they were food that they could eat as they pleased. They were also very afraid that they would follow in the footsteps of the marine race and the Thousand Demon Mountain. Now that the aliens had been wiped out and their battleships had been shot down, humans had won a great victory. They had vented their anger and were very happy. But we were beaten miserably before. Flaming Huang Island was surrounded, and even the Thousand Demon Mountain and the marine race were almost wiped out. How did we defeat such a strong force? Someone raised his own question. Because Xia Ping had a spaceship that surpassed alien standards, it was now classified as top secret by many kings. Basically, it could not be spread, so it was sealed. Ordinary people had no access to this information. I don't know. Maybe we humans have some other secret weapon. Yeah, no matter how they were defeated, we won this war anyway. Haha, we humans are rich this time. Our losses are negligible, but the Thousand Demon Mountain and the marine race are miserable. That's right. They suffered great losses this time. So many invincible demon kings and ordinary demon kings died. Almost half of their power has been lost. They no longer have the strength to fight against us humans. From now on, we humans will be the true overlords of the cloud realm. Plus, if we get that alien battleship, we'll be able to learn a lot of high-tech secrets. If we study it thoroughly, maybe one day we'll be able to travel to other planets and find more extraterrestrial life forms. This is a blessing in disguise. Many humans were very happy because not only did they not suffer great losses in this war, but they had also become stronger. There was no reason not to be happy. The humans were happy, but the Wanyao Mountain and the sea race were gloomy. At this moment, the kings of the two races had gathered on an island in the endless sea. They were having a meeting, and the atmosphere was extremely solemn. What do you think we should do now? The humans destroyed the alien fleet, and their momentum was unprecedentedly strong. Other than some ordinary people who died, there weren't many losses. Especially the high-end combat power, they were practically unharmed. An oceanic race beast king said, "But what about us? More than half of our invincible kings are dead. The remaining mermaid king and the other invincible kings are also heavily injured. They might not be able to recover in 10 years. Countless normal kings have died. The difference between us and humans is too great. I believe your Thousand Monster Mountain is the same." It looked at the monster kings of the myriad demon mountain. These monster kings also nodded with solemn expressions. It was indeed as the sea monster king had said. The earth bear king and the other captive demon kings were also destroyed in the explosion of the extraterrestrial battleship. They couldn't escape the power of the explosion and were killed directly. Not even their bones were left. It could be said that the two races, the Thousand Monster Mountain and the sea race, were powerful forces that could compete with the humans. But even if they joined forces, they might not be a match for the humans. It's all that damn human Xia Ping's fault. If he didn't come out of nowhere and make such a spaceship, the humans would be like us. More than half of our experts would be killed by those aliens, and we would suffer heavy losses. A monster king of the Thousand Monster Mountain gnashed his teeth in anger. They would never have thought that a tiny human would be looked down upon by these monster kings. He was just an ant that they could crush at any time. But now he had grown into a giant that could control the cloud realm. With this kid's power, even when the two races were at their peak, when the invincible kings still existed, they wouldn't dare to make a move against Xia Ping. Not to mention that they only had a few defeated soldiers left now. It was even more impossible to fight against Xia Ping. The ant back then had grown into a divine dragon that they had to look up to in such a short period of time. This was unacceptable to them. But the reality was like this. They had no choice but to accept it. Okay, there's no need to say more about this. We understand. Even if we talk about the past, it's meaningless. The most important thing is the future of our two races. An old monster king said in a deep voice, pointing out the key point. Actually, we don't need to say much. Let's form an alliance. That's right. This is the only way to fight against the human race. That's right. If we don't form an alliance, we'll only be swallowed by the human race. The human race is powerful now. It's not good to fight them head-on. Otherwise we'll be the ones who get hurt. We also have to compress our territory and give up some of the benefits to let those bastards eat their fill. Damn, we still have to compress our territory. Are you planning to cede land? I don't agree with this. Don't be naive. Do you think we can resist the human race's army now? If we don't give up some of the benefits now, we won't even have a place to stand in the future. Damn humans. They're even more despicable than the alien bandits. Why didn't the alien bandits kill them first? There's no other way. We can only wait until the day when the human race weakens. That's right. The lifespan of the monster race is always longer than that of the human race. Just watch from the sidelines. Sooner or later we'll take back our position as the overlord of the Cloud Realm. Moreover, since the location of the Cloud Realm has been exposed, there will probably be more alien invasions in the future. Even if the sky falls, we'll be able to block it. In the future, the human race will suffer. This is the price of becoming the overlord. If you want to wear the crown, you must bear the weight. Many monster kings gritted their teeth, feeling extremely sullen. In the past, the myriad monster mountain and the oceanic clan were so powerful. They were known as the overlords of the Cloud Realm and were unparalleled for a while. However, after the human race entered this world, everything changed. They were even forced to form an alliance to protect themselves. In the history of the oceanic clan and the monster race, this was unprecedented. The two races had been mortal enemies since they were young. They didn't like each other. Forming an alliance was out of the question. However, with the current power of the human race, not forming an alliance would mean death. Chapter 1079. Cloud World in a luxurious villa in a human city. At this moment, Nangong Wu, her father, Nangong Hai, and a chubby middle-aged woman were together. If Xia Ping was here, he would immediately know that this middle-aged woman's martial arts cultivation was unfathomable, far above the divine realm. Xiao Wu, it seems that I don't need to do anything. Your lover has already taken care of this group of red scarf thieves. The middle-aged woman smiled and looked at Nangong Wu. Obviously, she had learned the truth from a certain source. Mom, don't talk nonsense. He's not my lover. Nangong Wu blushed and immediately spat. He's just a shameless hooligan. She tried to refute her relationship with Xia Ping. This middle-aged woman was Nangong Wu's mother, Wang Fang. It's best if he's not your lover. The middle-aged woman did not pursue the matter. Instead, she looked at Nangong Wu seriously. Have you decided? Leave Cloud World and follow Mom back to Moon Court. The so-called Moon Court was a saint-level sect in the depths of the universe. It specialized in recruiting female geniuses and was extremely powerful. Wang Fang was an elder of Moon Court. Because of an accident, she was chased by powerful enemies. As a result, she accidentally fell into Cloud World and lost her cultivation. At this time she met Nangong Hai and was saved. As a result, the two experienced many ups and downs and fell in love with each other. That was how they had Nangong Wu. However, as Wang Fang's injuries healed, she also regained her original strength. Because she needed to return to the sect to inform the sect master, she temporarily left Nangong Hai. Unexpectedly, this separation lasted for more than 10 years. Nangong Hai thought that Wang Fang had an accident and might have died. Until recently, he received a message from Wang Fang saying that they would meet in Cloud World. Thus, the family was finally reunited in Cloud World. However, this time Wang Fang returned to Cloud World not only to reunite with the family. She wanted to bring the two of them together and leave Cloud World to return to Moon Court. Otherwise, after this separation, they would not be able to meet again in this lifetime. After all, according to Wang Fang's martial arts cultivation, it would not be a problem for her to live for thousands of years. However, Nangong Wu and Nangong Hai would not be able to live for that long. Therefore, it was necessary to bring them back to Mingyue Court and train them properly. Only then would there be hope of extending their lives. When the Red Scarf Bandits invaded the Cloud Realm, Nangong Wu thought of her mother. She wanted her mother to kill the Red Scarf Bandits and protect the safety of the humans in the Cloud Realm. However, before Wang Fang could make a move, they received news that the Red Scarf Bandits had been eliminated. The humans had achieved an overwhelming victory which shocked them greatly. Yes, mother, I've decided to go with you to Mingyue Court. Nangong Wu had made up her mind. Good, that's good. When we get back to Mingyue Court, Xiao Wu, with your talent, you'll definitely be the holy maiden of Mingyue Court. You might even be more promising than mother. Wang Fang was overjoyed. Previously, Nangong Wu was still hesitant. After all, There were many people in this world who were worth worrying about. Now she finally made up her mind and decided to leave the cloud world with Yi Futian. But there are countless geniuses in the universe. Can I really enter Minuet Court? Nangongwu was a little worried. Don't worry. You have the blood of the Wang family in you. It's just that it hasn't been activated yet. Once it's activated in the Wang family's ancestral hall, you'll definitely advance by leaps and bounds. You'll be much better than staying in this rural place. I've already checked you before. There's absolutely no problem, Wang Fang said seriously. Hearing these words, Nangongwu was relieved. She knew that her mother's martial arts cultivation was unfathomable. Even the strongest invincible king of the human race was just a child in her eyes. For such a strong person to say such words, it was definitely not without reason. But this time you're not the only ones coming with us. Wang Fang smiled slightly. Who else? Nangongwu was stunned. Apart from her and her father, there was actually someone else who was going with them. Come in. Wang Fang called out to the outside of the house. Whoosh whoosh. Immediately, two peerless beauties walked in from outside. They had graceful figures and exuded an extraordinary temperament. As they walked, even the sun seemed to lose its color. Sister Qiu, Sister Su. Nangongwu was very shocked because these two women were Su Mei and Qiu Shui. It seems that you also know each other. This makes things easier. Previously, when I went out for a walk, I actually saw two talented female geniuses who are very suitable to become disciples of Minuet Court. So, I decided to recruit them. Seeing that Nangongwu seemed to know these two newly recruited disciples, Wang Fang was immediately very happy. It seems that Xiao Wu also has a companion in the future. You don't need to worry about being lonely. For any saint-level sect, they were thirsty for talented people. Just like how people would never complain about having too much money, super sects would also not complain about having too many talented disciples. They often went around the universe to find talented disciples. Regardless of family background, as long as one had enough talent, he or she was qualified to join a sect and receive the best training. This was also the way to constantly maintain the strength of a sect in this cruel universe. Otherwise, a sect would decline and be divided up by many powerful people without hesitation. You also plan to leave Cloud World? Nangongwu was stunned. That's right. Cloud World can no longer make us stronger. Only by going deep into the universe can we quickly improve. Since we have this opportunity, of course we won't give it up. Most importantly, that bastard Xia Ping improved so fast that he can already rival us. As a teacher, it's so embarrassing to be surpassed by my former disciple. I can't accept it. That's right. No matter what, there is no benefit in staying in Cloud World. It's better to go into the universe and see what the other geniuses in the universe are like. Qiushu and Su Mei both clenched their fists and gritted their teeth. Their beautiful eyes revealed a burning desire to fight. Obviously, they were stimulated by Xia Ping's speed of improvement and were very unconvinced. Previously, they were far superior to Xia Ping and looked down on him. But now, in the blink of an eye, he was on equal footing with them. In fact, after some time he would far surpass them. Regarding this matter, they did not say anything on the surface, but they were competing. Now that Wang Fang appeared, they were immediately moved. They wanted to leave Cloud World and go into the universe to train. Nangongwu was speechless. She did not expect that Xia Ping's matter would cause so much pressure on the two female geniuses. They felt unconvinced and wanted to surpass him. However, in the depths of her heart she also had similar thoughts. Otherwise, she would not have made up her mind so quickly. If she did not leave now and find a way to become stronger, she might not even be able to see his back in the future. Chapter 1080. In the Endless Sea. On one of the seas, an AI ship was sailing in a certain direction. On it were four stunning women, Jianghu, Churong, Yuchichi and Suji. Chichi, is there really treasure in that place? Suji and the rest looked at Yuchichi curiously. The reason they suddenly ran out of Xia Ping's villa was because they heard Yuchichi's words. Of course there is. It's a legend of the mermaid race. Yuchichi said solemnly, it is said that the one who ruled the Endless Sea was not our sea race, but a true dragon that came from outer space. It occupied the Endless Sea for hundreds of thousands of years, and that era was called the True Dragon Era. And the place it stayed in was known as the True Dragon Lair. All of the True Dragon's treasures are stored there. There are many rare fruits and peerless elixirs. Once consumed, the benefits are almost immeasurable. Her tone was very serious. But it's still just a legend. Chu Rong felt that Yuchichi's words were just a story. I also thought it was a story before. But after the arrival of the Red Scarf Bandits, I don't think it's a story anymore. Perhaps the heavenly realm was once occupied by experts from another realm and left behind some ruins. Yuchichi looked at Chu Rong and the rest. So I've decided to go there and take a look. Maybe we can find the true dragon lair. If we really find it, we'll be rich. Of course, if you're still not willing to search with me, I won't force you. In any case, you can go back and be that shameless human's canary. She spread her hands. Who's that shameless canary? Don't spout nonsense. Jianghu, Suji, and Chu Rong all said in unison, their pretty faces flushed red. TSK, you guys really are in unison. Yu Chichi clicked her tongue. In any case, no matter what you guys think, I'm definitely going because there's no one left in the mermaid race who can stand up for me. She clenched her fists, her beautiful eyes shining with determination. The arrival of the Red Scarf Bandits had brought too much damage to the Mermaid Kingdom. Several important cities of the mermaid race had been destroyed by them, and more than half of the upper echelons had been killed. Her father, the Mermaid King, had been severely injured. Even if he hadn't died, it would be extremely difficult for him to recover to his peak strength. The entire Mermaid Kingdom had been destroyed. Many races in the Endless Sea were eyeing the territory of the Mermaid Kingdom. If they were besieged by those races, the Mermaid Kingdom would probably become history. Therefore, for the sake of the Mermaid Clan, she decided to stand up. She had to find the legendary True Dragon Lair. Only then would she have the hope of quickly advancing to the Demon King realm, and only then would she be able to stand on her own. She no longer wanted to be called the Mermaid Princess. Instead, she wanted to be the Mermaid Queen. Only then could she protect her father and the rest of the mermaid race. You're right. This is our only hope now. Since we're out, how can we go back? Stop joking. Even if it's just a faint hope, we have to seize it. In short, we can only rely on the four of us now. We can't rely on anyone else. Jianghu, Suji, and Chu Rong looked at each other and said in a serious tone. No matter what, they didn't want to be known as the woman behind someone's back. They wanted to stand on their own. At least when a strong enemy invaded, they would have the power to fight back instead of hiding behind and trembling. They didn't want to experience the despair of facing the Red Scarf Thief again. Alright, let's go. Yu Chichi immediately said. She took out an ancient map and commanded the ship to advance. Several days later, Xia Ping didn't know about the situation of Yu Chichi and the others. He was currently in seclusion in the villa, cultivating and consuming the 5-elemental liquid that he obtained from Yu Bo. He immediately consumed the 5-elemental liquid and felt an incomparably majestic magic power surging out from his body, finally flowing into the depths of his purple palace. While a large amount of liquid magic power surged in. The purple palace, which had already reached its limit, was now expanding bit by bit. The magic power in the depths of the purple palace was also increasing wildly. Dong. After an unknown amount of time, Xia Ping felt his magic power advancing by leaps and bounds. His body trembled, and he suddenly advanced to the middle stage of the purple palace realm. Right now, his purple palace was twice as big as the initial stage of the purple palace realm. Previously, it was 100 kilometers, but now it had expanded to 200 kilometers. It had become even stronger. Xia Ping felt that the magic power in the depths of his purple palace was simply overturning the rivers and seas. At the same time, it produced a mysterious power that permeated into his 5 viscera and 6 bowels, and even each of his cells. Pok, pok, pok. His bones produced the sound of tiger-leopard thunder. The magic power nourished his body, making it even stronger. His bones, muscles, meridians, skin and so on were all getting stronger. Even the golden crow cells in the depths of his body were unsealed. A large amount of golden energy was fused into his body, constantly evolving towards the golden crow physique of hell. Oh. Xia Ping took a slight breath and swallowed like a kuanpeng. With his body as the center, the heaven and earth spirit energy in a radius of 100 kilometers surged in and was devoured to its heart's content. At the same time, the star-guiding art began to circulate in his body. In the void, countless starlight descended and poured into his 108 acupoints. It felt as though there were countless stars trembling, constantly tempering into the body of stars. His body was emitting azure radiance, as though he was the son of the stars that was bathing in the radiance of the stars. It's actually gone? Xia Ping opened his eyes and felt that it was a pity. Consuming this gourd of 5 essence liquid had saved him 10 years of effort of absorbing heaven and earth spirit energy, and it helped him break through to the middle stage of the Purple Palace realm. If he had cultivated normally, he might not be able to break through for a long time. Right now, he was absorbing the heaven and earth spirit energy, trying to convert it into magic power. But the speed was just too slow, just like a snail. No wonder all the demon kings improve like a snail after advancing to the monarch realm. Without sufficient resources, it is too difficult to convert it into magic power. Xia Ping lamented silently. If he had a little more of the 5-essence liquid, he would be able to quickly break through to the late stage of the Purple Palace realm and even touch the boundary of the fulfillment realm. A pity that the 5-essence liquid had already been completely consumed and absorbed by him. Monster. Corinne was speechless when he saw this situation. A gourd of 5-essence liquid was definitely enough for an ordinary Purple Palace realm martial artist to smoothly break through to the peak stage of the late stage of the Purple Palace realm. If he had a little bit of comprehension, he would be able to advance to the fulfillment realm. Chapter 1081. Where did Chu Rong and the others go? Xia Ping used his spiritual force to sense the entire villa, but he didn't find the aura of Chu Rong and the others. It seemed that they were no longer in this villa and had left. It is said that they are going to explore the endless sea, so they left. Corinne had been monitoring the surroundings, so he knew their movements. Are they going out to explore? Forget it, I wanted to say goodbye to them before leaving the Sky Realm, but now it seems that there is no chance. Xia Ping stood up and stood with his hands behind his back. Corinne immediately said, "Are you going to leave now?" He was a little excited. Finally he could let this kid leave the Sky Realm. The depths of the universe was the stage for this monster. It was too unfair for him to stay in this small fish pond. No. Xia Ping waved his hand, "Let's go home first. I haven't been back to Yanhuang planet for a long time. I don't know when I can come back. It's better to go back and see my parents." He felt that he owed his parents a lot and wanted to take this opportunity to compensate them. By the way, he still had the 5-element spirit fruit on him. He could also give it to his parents to help them advance to the king realm and gain 1,000 years of life. Thinking of this, Xia Ping made a decision. All right. Corinne was not in a hurry. It was human nature to say goodbye to his parents before leaving home. One day later, Xia Ping returned to Yanhuang University and returned directly to Yanhuang planet through the void wormhole. With his identity and status, if he wanted to return to Yanhuang planet, it was only a matter of a word. Moreover, the military had specially sent a spaceship to pick him up and bring him home. Whether it was Xia Ping's current identity as a king or a savior, no one dared to neglect him. Soon he arrived at Tianshui City in Yanhuang planet's Jianghu district, but before returning to the city, he asked all the surrounding soldiers to leave, so as not to disturb his family and bring unnecessary trouble. As soon as Xia Ping approached his home villa, he spread out his spiritual force and immediately sensed that the villa was very lively. It seemed that his parents were receiving guests. Countless luxury cars were parked in the villa's parking lot, and there were countless policemen guarding around with real guns and ammunition. It was more heavily guarded than a military camp. Immediately he did not choose to enter. Instead, he took out the invisibility bead and concealed himself so that no one could discover him. At the same time, he used his mental strength to permeate the bead, wanting to know what was going on. At this moment, Xia Ping's father Xia Chuanlu and mother Huang Lanxin stayed in the living room of the villa. However, Xia Chuanlu and Huang Lanxin were dressed like nouveau riche. They wore emerald bracelets on their hands, 5 or 6 precious diamonds on their fingers, thick gold necklaces around their necks, and a shiny golden robe. They were simply dazzling to the eyes of the people around them. If it wasn't for the fact that he had no problems with his teeth, he would probably want to insert a few gold teeth. Mayor Huang, you're too courteous. You're really too courteous. Since you're already here, why did you bring any gifts? Xia Chuanlu was smiling so widely that only his teeth could be seen. He looked just like the Maitreya Buddha. The guest was none other than the mayor of Yangzhou district, Huang Liang. Apart from Yangzhou district's district chief, the district chiefs of the other 8 continents, as well as the big shots of the major families, all came to visit. There was only one purpose: to curry favor with Xia Chuanlu and build a good relationship in advance. Because the news of Xia Ping's promotion to the king realm was too sensational. First of all, Yanhuang Star was shocked. It was broadcasted 24 hours a day on TV and became the headline of the day. The result can be imagined. How could the big and small heads of Yanhuang Star still sit still? They immediately came to visit because everyone knows that from now on, the Xia family will definitely go against the heavens and become a king family. And Xia Ping will also become one of the top human figures. Some well-informed families also know that Xia Ping is not as simple as an ordinary king. He is even a brother of an invincible king, which is even more frightening. If they can please Xia Chuanlu and his wife in advance, the Xia family can casually give them some benefits, which is enough to fill their brains and intestines. Therefore, even the district chiefs couldn't sit still and immediately came to visit. However, these district chiefs did not come at the same time. Instead, they had a tacit understanding and came to visit at different times so that everyone had enough time to build a good relationship with the Xia family. No, this is a token of my sincerity. If I don't bring a small gift to Brother Xia's mansion, how can I show my sincerity? Huang Liang said modestly. Even though he was relatively old and had a high level of martial arts cultivation, he still didn't dare to be arrogant in front of Xia Chuanlu. He was very modest and called himself a little brother. A 3,000-year-old wild ginseng, how can this be considered a small gift? I'm afraid you can't buy it even if you have money. Xia Chuanlu exclaimed in admiration, but then he changed the topic. But I usually like to make tea and I often like to soak ginseng in it. I always use it quickly. I don't know if one is enough. Bitch. Hearing this, the corner of Huang Liang's mouth twitched violently, and he cursed in his heart. How could he not understand that this bastard was clearly asking for a big lion's mouth here? He was not satisfied with a 3,000-year-old ginseng and wanted a second one. He was shameless to the extreme. He was openly asking for bribes. How shameless. If it weren't for this bastard having a king realm's son, how could he, a dignified district chief, be so humiliated today? He simply wished for nothing more than to spit on this shameless person's face. But in the face of this reasonable request he couldn't refuse. This, if Brother Xia likes it, I still have one in my house and I'll send it to Brother Xia another day. Ah, how can I accept that? It's too expensive. Xia Chuanlu waved his hand. Although he said this, he didn't look embarrassed at all. Huang Liang said repeatedly, No, it's not expensive at all. My house only has this little thing, it's not worth much. As long as Brother Xia likes it, it's fine. When he said these words, he felt as if his heart was bleeding. This was not cutting flesh, but rather it was cutting his kidney. This bastard Xia Chuanlu was simply more ruthless than Zhou Bapi. Didn't he say he was a city enforcement officer before? Could it be that he was used to plundering other people's things? Not only was he not satisfied with plundering the vendors, he even started to plunder the district chief. The two of them exchanged greetings for half an hour, and then Huang Liang hurriedly retreated, saying that he still had some government affairs to attend to. He was afraid that if he continued to chat like this, he would have to take out another 3,000 ginseng. At that time he would probably go bankrupt. Soon, the guests in the living room of the villa quickly retreated, leaving only Xia Chuanlu and Huang Lanxin. Cool, it's really cool. Xia Chuanlu said proudly, thinking back to when I was just a city enforcement officer, I didn't expect that now the district chief would bow to me, flatter me, and bring expensive gifts. Fortunately, my son is promising. What's this called? When a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs ascend to heaven. He felt comfortable all over and felt that he had made a name for himself. Bullshit, you're the chicken and dog. Don't you know how to talk? Huang Lanxin couldn't help but kick him. Yes, my mouth deserves to be slapped, it deserves to be slapped. Xia Chuanlu also realized the fault in his words. Mom, Dad. Chapter 1082. Son. Hearing this familiar voice and seeing this familiar figure, Huang Lanxin and Xia Chuanlu both cried out in surprise. If this was not their own biological son, who else could it be? They all immediately stood up and greeted him. Why are you back? Xia Chuanlu asked. Look at what you're saying, our son can come back whenever he wants to. Does he need your permission? Huang Lanxin rolled her eyes at Xia Chuanlu. Yes, this is indeed my fault. Xia Chuanlu nodded again and again, but today our son is back, let's have a big meal. It just so happens that there is a 3,000-year-old ginseng, let's do it today. He didn't care about this valuable 3,000-year-old ginseng at all. I came back today and brought you some gifts. Xia Ping smiled slightly. Xia Chuanlu blinked his eyes. Gifts? What kind of gifts is it? You really think you're an outsider? Huang Lanxin's eyes widened and she was very angry. Xia Ping waved his hand and said, No, this gift is not ordinary, it can prolong life. He turned his hand and immediately took out the 5-element spirit fruit for 2 people. Suddenly, as soon as the 5-element spirit fruit appeared, the entire living room was filled with rich 5-element spirit qi, as if turning this place into a small paradise. Huang Lanxin and Xia Chuanlu took a deep breath greedily and felt that their limbs and bones were very comfortable. It seemed that their old bodies were 10 years younger, and there was a feeling of rejuvenation. My God, what kind of spirit fruit is this? Just smelling it has cured my stuffy nose for many years. I'm afraid this is more precious than the 3,000-year-old ginseng. Xia Chuanlu was no longer the former urban management officer. In the past year, he has become the head of the city management department of Tianshui City. He has received many high-ranking officials and noble people and accepted many expensive gifts. He has long trained his vision. But he still has not seen spirit fruits like the ones in Xiaoping's hands. He has never seen spirit medicines with such amazing effects. This is an eye-opener. Compared with it, the 3,000-year-old ginseng is not even worthy of carrying shoes. Xiaoping suddenly smiled. After taking these spirit fruits, even if one's aptitude is bad, he can quickly promote to the king realm and have 1,000 years of life. What? Hearing these words, Huang Lanxin and Xia Chuanlu were so scared that they immediately fell to the ground. They looked at the spiritual fruit in Xiaoping's hand in shock and were stunned. Son, do you know what you're saying? No matter how inferior one's natural talent is, one would still be able to advance into the king realm after consuming this spirit fruit? Xia Chuanlu simply didn't dare believe what he heard. One had to know what the king realm represented. It represented supremacy and extraordinary. Once a person became a king, they would be above the law. They would have the power to split the land and confer the title of king. Many cultivators looked forward to becoming a king the most in their lives, but it was impossible. One could totally imagine how difficult it was to advance to the monarch realm. However, his son had said that he would definitely advance into the king realm after consuming these two spirit fruits, and no matter how inferior his natural talent was, it would probably cause a mighty uproar if news of this were to spread. Immediately he looked around nervously, afraid that the news would spread. After all, if news of this got out, the Xia clan would probably lose their lives. Even invincible kings would come knocking, and they would not be able to protect such a precious spirit fruit. This was the so-called, an innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. Although he was just a city enforcement officer, he still understood this truth. Let it go, Dad, no one in the human world can do anything to me. Even if this news spread, there would be no problem. Xiaoping waved his hand. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, 20 or 30 liquid robots appeared in the living room. They were wearing black suits, black leather shoes and sunglasses. They looked like gangsters and their whole bodies exuded a murderous aura. These liquid robots were created by Corinne taking advantage of the time when Xiaoping was training in seclusion, using the spare parts of space battleships and the spare parts stored in the base. Combining the two, the liquid robots were created. They all had the strength of the divine power realm. What is this? Both Huang Lanxin and Xia Chuanlu were dumbfounded as they looked at these robots that suddenly appeared. Xiaoping explained to his parents that these robots were obtained by him from some ancient ruins. Their strength had reached the invincible king realm and they were bodyguards. So that's how it is. Son, the reason why your martial arts cultivation has progressed so fast is because you got the inheritance of that ancient ruins. Xia Chuanlu understood at once and even suddenly realized. For people in this world, entering a certain ruin, obtaining the inheritance and then soaring to the sky, such things are too common and not surprising. It's just that his son's adventure was a little big to a frightening extent. It's no wonder that his son was not worried about the news being leaked even if he said it. With these divine power realm robots as bodyguards, naturally no one in the human world could do anything to him. Suddenly Huang Lanxin and Xia Chuanlu were relieved. Yes. Xiaoping nodded. As long as his parents understood this, it was good. Although these words were made up, sometimes white lies were not wrong. But you suddenly said such a big thing, you gave me the spirit fruit and you took out the robots. Why do I feel that you are making arrangements for your funeral? Xia Chuanlu stared at Xiaoping, obviously aware of something. Hearing this, Xiaoping couldn't help but sigh. Although his father was sometimes sloppy, sometimes he was too shrewd, and nothing could be hidden from him. Yes. Xiaoping calmly told his parents about his plan to go to the universe without reservation. At the same time, he also told them about the news of the red scarf thief and that he had to leave. I didn't expect you to have so much responsibility now. It seems that the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Father has nothing to say. You have grown up. Whatever decision you make is your personal choice. Xia Chuanlu stood with his hands behind his back, his eyes were deep and he sighed. I have actually heard a little about the red scarf thief. Although the news was blocked by the government and not known by the people of Yanhuang Star, I still know a lot of inside information from my contacts with many high-ranking officials and nobles, but I didn't expect it to be so dangerous. A little carelessness will lead to the destruction of the whole family. I've wronged you, son. He was very emotional and understood the importance of Xiaoping's choice. Once there was not enough strength, the fierce bandits from the depths of the universe would come again, and everyone would die. Therefore, he had to leave and go to the universe to find a solution. Mom has nothing to say as long as you promise to return safely, Huang Lanxin said. Chapter 1083. Late at night. After chatting with his parents for a night, Xiaoping and his parents returned to their bedroom to rest. However, he did not rest. Instead, he went to the courtyard of the villa. Do you really plan to plant the 5-element spirit tree here? With a whizzing sound, Corinne jumped on his shoulder and asked. Yes. Xiaoping nodded. In any case, the 5-elemental spirit tree is no longer of much use to me, so I might as well plant it here and let it continue to grow, providing more 5-elemental spirit fruits and nurturing a large number of human kings. In order to fight the Red Scarf bandits in the future, he intended to increase the strength of all humans. The 5-element spirit fruit was an extremely important part of this. Of course, he was not going to give it away for free. He planned to trade it with other human kings in exchange for a large number of precious treasures. He knew that Heavenly Realm might seem weak now, but there were still many mysterious places with unusual treasures. These were all things he desired. Therefore, he would definitely be able to exchange the 5-element spirit fruit with human kings or demon kings for a large number of treasures. He believed that no one would be able to resist advancing to the king realm. This would be the greatest strategic resource of Heavenly Realm in the future. Of course, he was not worried that others would have designs on the 5-element spirit tree. He planned to leave most of the Divine Realm robots as bodyguards to protect his parents. He only had 2 or 3 Divine Realm robots as his trump cards. That would be enough. It would be a waste to have too many of them on him. He believed that with these robots protecting his parents, no one would be able to do anything to them. Let's plant them first and see if they can survive. With a swoosh, Xiaoping immediately took out the 5-element spirit tree seeds of life from his spatial ring. The 5 seeds immediately floated in the air and emitted rings of special energy. It seemed that the power of the 5 elements had gathered in this area. Dong. In the next second, Xiaoping gently patted the 5 seeds on the ground. At the same time, the fire of life in his body immediately ignited and green flames surged out. In the blink of an eye, the green flames were injected into the 5 seeds of life. Whoosh, it was as if the 5 seeds of life had been fed with a powerful tonic, and they began to grow rapidly. First, countless roots appeared on their bodies, piercing deep into the earth, extending several dozen meters or even hundreds of meters into the ground. Because of the brute force of these roots tearing the earth, it caused a slight tremor in a radius of several kilometers, as if there was an earthquake. The surrounding martial artists were all shocked, not knowing what was happening. However, Xiaoping did not care about such trivial matters. His mind was fully focused on cultivating the 5-element spiritual tree. As its roots dug into the ground, absorbing the power of the world's 5 elements, the 5-element spiritual tree began to grow at a rapid pace. It was practically uprooting itself from the ground, growing to a height of over 100 meters in an instant. In this small district, it was extremely shocking to have 5 trees that were more than 100 meters tall. It could be said that they stood out from the crowd. However, when the 5-element spiritual trees grew, they resonated with each other and automatically formed a 5 elements domain. This domain enveloped the entire villa. Immediately, a gray mist rose from the surroundings, blocking the villa's surroundings. Outsiders could not see what was happening inside the villa at all. At this moment, the entire villa was filled with the energy of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. It seemed to have formed a small paradise. Cultivating in this place would definitely speed up one's cultivation. Even compared to a cultivation world like the Cloud Realm, it was not inferior. Fire of life. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a glimmer of light. He manipulated the fire of life and split a trace of the fire of life's origin into the 5-element spiritual tree. In this way, a little bit of the fire of life's origin would exist in the 5-element spiritual tree's body. Like an eternal fire seed, it would never be extinguished. It could also absorb the world's essence energy and constantly strengthen this bit of origin energy. Alright, this way the 5-element spiritual tree can grow in this place. Xiaoping was very satisfied. He deliberately split a trace of the fire of life's origin into the 5-element spiritual tree's body. This way he did not need to constantly provide the fire of life's energy to promote their growth. Son, what on earth happened? At this time his father, Xia Chuanlu, and his mother, Huang Lanxin, also got up. When they came to the yard, the entire villa had undergone earth-shaking changes. They did not know when, but there were 5 towering trees in the yard, and the villa was filled with a gray aura, covering the surroundings as if it had formed a domain. When they saw these 5 trees, they immediately knew that these 5 trees were extraordinary. They were definitely strange objects of heaven and earth. Is it already dawn? Xia Ping looked up. It turned out that when he planted these 5 spiritual trees, a night had passed, and now it was the next morning. He smiled slightly and immediately told his parents the origin of the 5 spiritual tree. What? Both Xia Chuanlu and Huang Lanxin were shocked. The appearance of the 5 spiritual fruit alone was enough to shock people, but now their son had planted this kind of spiritual tree. Didn't that mean that such spiritual fruits could be produced frequently in the future? In the future, kings would not be valuable at all. Even if they were ordinary people, they knew what would happen. There was no doubt that the appearance of the 5 spiritual fruit would change the pattern of the entire world. In the future, it would definitely enter the era of kings and everyone could become a king. This news is too big. Dad can't react for a while. Xia Chuanlu had experienced a lot this year, but he was not as shocked as he was now. He felt that his son's growth this year was too fast, beyond imagination. It's okay. Xia Ping smiled slightly. When I leave the cloud realm, I will leave this 5 spiritual tree to you, Dad. If others want to exchange, you can ask them to provide precious treasures. Federal coins are not accepted. He had enough federal coins on him and he could not spend them all. Moreover, after entering the universe, federal coins were just a piece of waste paper and were not valuable at all, so he also planned to give all the federal coins he had to his parents to deal with. Okay. Xia Chuanlu nodded, and at the same time he was extremely excited. With the existence of these 5 spiritual fruits, the whole world had to curry favor with him. Someone wanted to rob him? Did he ask these divine power realm robots? If they dared to come, they would die. Most importantly, they had also taken the 5 spiritual fruit. He believed that it would not take long for them to break through quickly and break through to the king realm in one fell swoop. In this way they would also have the power to protect themselves. Chapter 1084. The next day, the Xia family villa. At this moment, there were densely packed soldiers and dozens of battleships hovering high in the sky. With the Xia family villa as the center, the entire community was evicted and forcibly bought by the federal government. It could be said that this was the most upscale community in Tianshui City. Except for the Xia family, no one else was allowed to live in this place. It can be said that this community has become the most important military forbidden area of Yanhuang planet. Anyone who dares to trespass will be killed without any consideration. Even the strongest king is no exception. Of course, these people who moved also received enough compensation and will not suffer. Such a move also shocked the residents of Tianshui City. Oh my god, did you know? The most upscale villa community in our Tianshui City has been cleared by the army. Only the Xia family is allowed to live in it. No one else is allowed to stay. Awesome, the Xia family is so powerful, don't the others object? Object my ass, the federal government's members and the president have come forward. Who dares to object? Are they tired of living? Why did this happen all of a sudden? I don't know. According to the people living in the community, a fog suddenly appeared in the Xia family villa one day, shrouding the surroundings. It was very mysterious. It was because of this that the federal government was alarmed. It is said that the invincible king has come, and he came back from the sky realm. Oh my god, the invincible king? This is the supreme existence of mankind. He rarely appears on Yanhuang planet. He is basically guarding the sky realm to prevent major changes. I didn't expect him to come back. It seems that something big has happened. This Xia family has really been doing well recently. Back then, Xia Chuanlu was just a city enforcement officer who swept the streets. Now, even the president of the Federation and an invincible king have to pay a personal visit. This is too unbelievable. It's all because Xia Chuanlu gave birth to a good son. My son is not good. He is proficient in eating, drinking, and gambling, but he doesn't know martial arts. It's better to have a barbecued pork than to have him. It must be because the Xia family has good feng shui. After decades of accumulation, they finally have a capable person in this generation. This is the so-called good preparation. There is such a thing. It seems that I have to go to the Xia family's ancestral grave to see if I can get some immortal qi. In Tianshui City, countless people were discussing this matter in their spare time. It could be said to be the biggest thing in the history of this small third-tier city. But what these ordinary people didn't know was that the fate of the entire Sky Water City had changed dramatically. Some senior officials in Tianshui City have received news that this city will become the center of Yanhuang Planet in the future, and even the capital of Yangzhou district will move here. At this moment, in the backyard of the Xia family's villa, Gu Shilai, Sun Yangdao, Lu Wuming, and the rest of the 13 invincible kings were all here. As for the other kings, they also wanted to come, but they didn't have the qualifications to. All of them looked at the 5-element spirit tree in excitement. As divine tier beings, they instinctively knew how great this divine tree was. It could be said to be a natural wonder. Xia Ping, is this the 5-element spirit tree that can produce 5-element spirit fruits? Gushi was very excited. He had heard of the legend of the 5-element spirit tree before, but he had never seen it before. Now that he saw it, he felt that it was indeed extraordinary. He knew the magic of the 5-element spirit fruit. No matter how low one's aptitude was, as long as they took one, they would quickly advance to the king realm. If this wasn't a natural wonder, then what was? That's right. Xia Ping nodded. Sun Yangdao asked curiously, isn't it said that it's difficult for the 5-element spirit tree to survive? Without the cultivation of the 5 races, the 5-element spirit tree will soon wither and can't grow spirit fruits. Don't worry, I have a special cultivation method. Xia Ping said with a smile, but he didn't say anything because it was his secret. Hearing this, they didn't ask any more. After all, they also knew that Xia Ping had countless secrets. Just the spaceship that was enough to destroy the alien bandits was enough to shock the entire sky realm. Who knew what other trump cards this kid had, so they didn't suspect anything. How many 5-element spirit fruits can it produce? Lu Wuming asked this key question. If cultivated properly, it should be able to produce 105-element spirit fruits a year. Xia Ping stretched out a finger. If it was cultivated by the 5 races, it definitely wouldn't be able to produce so many, but now that they had the fire of life in their bodies, their growth speed was many times faster than ordinary 5-element spirit trees, and they also had sufficient life energy. Even if the 5-element spirit tree continued to evolve, it wouldn't just produce 105-element spirit fruits a year. In the future, it might produce 200, 500, 1,000, or even 10,000. 100. Hearing this, Gu Eli and the other invincible kings were extremely excited. This was an amazing number, which meant that in the future, there would be 100 Purple Mansion Realm monarchs born every year. One had to know that in the past, the human world was extremely lucky to have one monarch per year. Sometimes, there might not even be one in several years. One could imagine the difficulty of reaching the king realm. They could imagine that in the future, monarchs would probably not be valuable in the human world, and the number of invincible kings would increase exponentially. Even a bunch of invincible kings could be added. If it was before, they would still be worried that the emergence of invincible kings would threaten their status. But ever since they saw the Red Scarf Bandits and felt weak and powerless under the power of the aliens, they didn't have this thought at all. The more strong humans there were, the more chances they would have to survive in the universe. If there were only a few strong humans, they might be invaded by the aliens again in the future. At that time, it might not be so easy to deal with them. Therefore, of course, they hoped that the more strong humans there were, the better. That way they would have more power to resist the aliens. After becoming the overlord of the Cloud Realm, the humans' vision was no longer limited to the Cloud Realm. They had already set their sights on the distant depths of the universe, competing with the thousands of races in the sky. However, this 5-element spirit fruit was planted by me. If any of you want to exchange for it, you must provide me with treasures. Xia Ping smiled and directly stated his purpose. Of course, this is obtained by little friend Xia, so it naturally belongs to you. We won't rob you. Gu Eli and the others smiled, understanding that Xia Ping was not willing to be at a disadvantage. However, even if they had to hand over treasures, there were countless masters in the Cloud Realm who were eager to get a 5-element spirit fruit. After all, this was the best opportunity to break through to the King Realm, especially those masters who were at the end of their lifespans. They were willing to go bankrupt. Xia Ping was not worried that no one would exchange for it. Next is to go to the universe. Chapter 1085. A week later. The moon god left the sky realm and set off towards the universe. Xia Ping used this week's time to basically deal with all the matters, relieving himself of any worries. At the same time he also returned to the Sky Realm and found Feng Hatong. Since Feng Hatong was his younger brother for many years, he also gave Feng Hatong a portion of the 5-element spirit fruit, which made his martial arts cultivation advance by leaps and bounds. Anyway, after the 5-element spirit tree was successfully planted, the 5-element spirit fruit was no longer valuable to him, so it didn't matter much to give Feng Hatong. Originally he also wanted to find Chu Rong and the others, but after waiting for a week he didn't see them appear. He didn't know where they went, and even satellite detection couldn't find their position. So Xia Ping gave up and directly went to the universe. What a beautiful starry sky. The moon god sailed in the universe. Xia Ping could clearly see the scene outside the starry sky through the virtual projection of the spaceship. There were dense stars all around, blooming with thousands of rays of light. In the distance was the vast and boundless universe. It was dark and he couldn't see the end, nor could he see the boundary. It was as if he was in a space of nothingness, and there was no sense of direction like up and down, left and right. If someone was not familiar with the universe, they would be lost in the endless space in an instant, and they wouldn't know where they should go. It was more terrifying than any maze in the world. Fortunately, Xia Ping had an experienced brain like Corinne. It was already familiar with navigating the universe, so he was very relieved to leave everything to Corinne. "Corinne, where are we going?" Xia Ping turned around and asked. He hadn't asked Corinne about his destination this time. Corinne jumped out and said, "Do you know how the forces of the universe are distributed?" "I don't know," Xia Ping said honestly. "I don't know, this old man will tell you." Corinne stroked his white beard. "I believe you also learned some simple knowledge of the universe on Yanhuang's star, the basic concepts of planets, galaxies and star fields. To put it simply, a galaxy is an amalgamation of countless living and lifeless planets, and a star field is an area formed by tens of thousands of galaxies. However, this area is extremely large, beyond the imagination of ordinary creatures. So you should also know how terrifying the forces that rule a star field are." Xia Ping nodded. A planet with life could sustain at least billions of people, and some could even sustain tens of billions. How many habitable planets were there in a galaxy? Although most of them were non-habitable planets, there were at least 1 million habitable planets. There were tens of thousands of galaxies in a star area, so the number of living beings in the star area was simply innumerable. Compared to Cloud Realm, Yanhuang star was simply a drop of water in the ocean. From this, it could be imagined that a force that could rule an entire star field was simply unimaginable. The weakest are planets, followed by countries. Those that can only control one planet are basically indigenous planets that don't have the ability to travel through the universe. However, there are some strong countries in the universe that can control tens, hundreds, or even thousands of planets ruling over a region. Corinne continued, "But the strongest forces in the universe are not countries, but martial arts sects." He looked at Xia Ping with a very solemn expression. "Martial arts sect." Xia Ping blinked his eyes and didn't speak, listening to Corinne continue. "Yes, a saint-level sect can control countless powerful countries in the universe. They can rule one or even several star areas, and countless planets are under the jurisdiction of this saint-level sect." Corinne said in a deep voice, "In these star areas there are many countries. Their rulers or high-level big shots are basically from this saint-level sect. Or they directly send their disciples to take up important positions and be responsible for managing each and every country in the universe. In the past, the Myriad Stars sect was also like this, ruling a star area, controlling the lives of countless living beings, seizing their lives." He was incomparably emotional, very nostalgic. In the past, the Myriad Stars sect was incomparably powerful, simply walking sideways. It could also rely on its master's power to be respected everywhere, and no one dared to provoke it. Direct management? Xia Ping asked curiously, could it be that all the countries in the universe have a federal system with universal elections? No. Corinne shook his head. The universe is so big, how can a system represent everything? There are also royal systems, dictatorial systems, electoral systems, slavery systems, and even tribal systems. But it doesn't matter, the president or the king doesn't need the disciples of this sect to take up the position. As long as the important positions are monitored by the sect's disciples, it is enough. As for the saint-level sects, they are not interested in managing them. As long as these countries can provide the sects with a lot of cultivation resources, there is no problem in who is the ruler. Of course, the leaders of these universe countries are not stupid, especially the powerful universe countries with the royal system. They will choose to send their royal disciples to join the sections. In fact, they are also a part of the saint-level sects, and there is no distinction between them. Hearing these words, Xiaoping's eyes flickered. So that's how it is. You want me to go to the universe this time? Could it be that you want me to join a saint-level sect? Yes. Corinne nodded. But am I not a disciple of the Myriad Stars sect? How can I join other sects? Xiaoping asked. Stupid. Corinne said contemptuously, if the Myriad Stars sect still exists, you naturally don't need to join other sects, but now that the Myriad Stars sect has perished, why bother about it? Do you know how difficult it is to survive in the universe without a big backer? Can be said that it is difficult to move even an inch. If you slightly offend a big shot with unknown depth, you will die without a burial ground. First of all, entering the universe, the most important thing is nothing else but survival. Moreover, joining a saint-level sect has many benefits. They have a perfect training system, a large number of cultivation resources, you can also learn many precious martial arts secret books, and there is even a large group of senior and junior brothers to help you. If you don't join, wouldn't that be stupid? He hated iron for not becoming steel, and explained the many benefits of joining a saint-level sect. Xiaoping felt that Corinne was simply more treacherous than a human, and knew how to advance and retreat. It could be said that Corinne had already become a real old fox. Okay, but the universe is vast, which saint-level sect should I join? Xiaoping was at a loss. He was confused about the matters of the universe and had no clue. Rest assured, after this old man's continuous investigation, according to your requirements, experience, qualifications and so on, this old man has already helped you choose the sect you want to join. Chapter 1086. Heaven and Earth Sect? Hearing this, Xiaoping was very puzzled. It was the first time he heard the name of this sect. However, he had heard Corinne say that Cloud World was under the jurisdiction of the Soaring Cloud sect. Why didn't he join the Soaring Cloud sect? Corinne also saw through Xiaoping's thoughts. You must be very puzzled as to why not join the Soaring Cloud sect? Indeed, the Soaring Cloud sect is also very powerful. It is a saint-class sect and has jurisdiction over 5-star fields. Red Cloud Star Field, Blue Cloud Star Field, Green Cloud Star Field, White Cloud Star Field, and Flowing Cloud Star Field. According to my guess, Cloud World is in a remote corner of Flowing Cloud Star Field. But think about it carefully. What good things did you do in the Universe Virtual Network? Xiaoping blinked his eyes. I didn't do anything. Shut up. Corinne gritted his teeth. Still pretending. Who knows how many aristocratic families you offended when you entered the novice village? Those aristocratic families are important forces of the Soaring Cloud sect. If you join the Soaring Cloud sect and they find out your true identity, you will definitely suffer. Don't think that they will forget these things in a short time. He felt that he had 8 lifetimes of bad luck. Although this kid's talent was good, he was too good at causing trouble. He hadn't even entered the universe and already offended a large number of strong enemies. He couldn't imagine that if he was discovered by those aristocratic families, it would be a light punishment for this kid to be skinned alive. Of course, not letting you join the Soaring Cloud sect is only a small part of the reason. Corinne said in a deep voice, the important thing is that the Soaring Cloud sect is very strict in recruiting disciples. They only recruit those with clean backgrounds, and they must be humans from the 5 major star fields. But you are a native and belong to the category of unregistered residents without identity. You are not registered by the Soaring Cloud sect, so even if you want to join the Soaring Cloud sect, there is no way. It showed the real reason why Xiaoping couldn't join the Soaring Cloud sect. Xiaoping nodded. In fact, it was not only him. The entire Cloud World and Yanhuang Star were considered unregistered residents. They were not registered by the Soaring Cloud sect, so there was no record in the universe. In fact, this was also a problem for the natives to enter the universe. Without an identity record, it was difficult to apply for various kinds of documents, and it was difficult to integrate into the universe society. However, the Jianghu sect is different. It advocates education without discrimination. Corinne said, as far as Heaven and Earth faction is concerned, it will not care about your origin, nor will it care about your past matters. As long as you have enough talent, you can join Heaven and Earth faction. Moreover, the Jianghu sect is a saint-level sect, even slightly stronger than the Lingyun sect. It rules over 6-star fields. That's why you are very suitable to join the Jianghu sect to cultivate and continuously evolve. It looked at Xiaoping. Where is the Heaven and Earth sect? Xiaoping asked. He also understood Corinne's intention. Indeed, joining Jianghu faction was the best choice. Actually, the Heaven and Earth faction and the Soaring Cloud faction are neighbors. Their star regions are close to each other and they are not far from the Cloud Realm. Immortal Cat said, as long as we jump through space for more than a week, we can quickly arrive at the headquarters of Jianghu School, Jianghu Star. Universe Star? Xiaoping looked at Corinne and didn't speak. Yes, Universe Star is the headquarters of the Heaven and Earth faction, the core of the 6 star fields. Almost all the experts of the Heaven and Earth faction are gathered on this planet. Corinne smiled slightly. The size of this planet is incomparably huge, many times larger than your Yanhuang planet. If you have to compare, it is about twice the size of the Sun. The gravity on this planet is equivalent to 20 times that of Yanhuang planet. Ordinary people of Yanhuang planet can't survive there. Only cultivators who have reached the Purple Mansion realm can survive. However, the resources on this planet are countless times richer than those of the Cloud Realm. It can be called a real paradise, so the Heaven and Earth faction set up their sect on this planet. At this time, it happens to be the day when the Heaven and Earth faction recruits outer disciples once every 4 years. So this time, when you go to Universe Star, you will have the opportunity to join the Heaven and Earth faction. Universe Star. Xiaoping clenched his fists, looking forward to it. The unknown planet he was going to was extremely prosperous and had many experts. A cultivator like him was estimated to be almost the same as an ant. This time he had the opportunity to see the genius experts of various races in the universe. Moreover, relying on the resources of a saint-level sect, he also had the opportunity to evolve quickly and advance to a higher realm of martial arts. Remember, when you go to Universe Star this time, the geniuses of the 6 major starfields will gather. They will all desperately perform in order to join the Heaven and Earth faction and become outer disciples. Corinne said solemnly, most of these geniuses who come from afar have deep foundations. They may be the heirs of some ancient family, the princes of some kingdoms, or the descendants of some old monsters. In short, their backgrounds are unfathomable. Remember, when you participate in the entrance test of the Heaven and Earth faction, you must keep a low profile. Don't be in the limelight. It is best to quietly join the Heaven and Earth faction and slowly grow, pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. He warned Xiaoping that the most important thing to do when going out to the universe was to keep a low profile. Those who were high profile often died the quickest. Well, I know. Xiaoping patted his chest and made a promise. The corner of Corinne's mouth twitched. He didn't know why, but he always had an ominous premonition. But it will take us 7 or 8 days to arrive. It is really too long. Is there any way to go a little faster? Xiaoping touched his chin, feeling that traveling in the dark and boundless universe for 7 or 8 days was really a long journey. No way, this is already the fastest speed. Corinne spread out his hands. Moreover, this is because I have a complete starry sky route map and found the fastest route. If it was an ordinary person, even if they sailed for several months, they may not be able to arrive. In the universe, the starry sky route map was extremely important. After all, the universe was really too complicated. Without an accurate route map, one would get lost. Sometimes, it was normal to circle in the same place for several months. If Old Master's spaceship was in good condition, we could arrive in a few hours, but now it is not possible. Corinne expressed that there was no way. This moon god ship had already done its best to transform. If it was the previous moon god ship, it was estimated that it would not be able to travel in the universe. After flying for more than 10 light years, it would be shot down by meteorites flying everywhere in the universe, or it would not be able to bear the rapid speed of the spaceship, leading to the entire spaceship disintegrating. If that's the case, then forget it. Xiaoping nodded. If you feel bored, you can enter the universe virtual network. Sometimes, people who travel in the universe will enter the network to pass time. Corinne suggested. Universe virtual network. Chapter 1087. Universe Virtual Network, Beginner Village. Whoosh. Xiaoping once again entered the Universe Virtual Network and appeared in the Novice Village. He looked around but did not see anyone. It was probably not the right time, so there were not many people online. However, he did not pay any attention to them. He went straight to the village chief's side and requested to leave the village. Alright, according to the test, Wu Wudi is qualified to leave the Novice Village. He can head to a low-level city. The village chief of the newbie village nodded. He knew that Xiaoping was now at the Purple Mansion realm and could leave the newbie village. Low-grade city? What does that mean? Xiaoping was confused. Corinne explained, In this martial arts space, after leaving the novice village you can go to the city, but the difference between cities is also different. There are altogether 3 levels: low-level city, middle-level city, and high-level city. Purple Mansion Realm, Fulfillment Realm, and Divine Ability Realm cultivators are allowed to enter the low-grade city. Only Treasure Refining Realms, True Fire Realms, and Golden Core Realms can enter the intermediate cities. Only those at the Returning Nature Realm, Transcendence Realm, and Lightning Tribulation Realm can enter the high-class cities. The 3 different levels of cities are clearly separated. If you don't reach the corresponding level, you won't be able to enter the corresponding city. It's said that there's a main city above the upper-class city. That's the sanctuary that only sages can step into. Xia Ping nodded, expressing his understanding. Moreover, the city is different from the novice village. The city is an absolute safe zone and no one can fight in the city. Of course, once you leave the city you can fight in the wilderness. Corinne continued, however, a lot of resources as well as opportunities can only be obtained in the wild, so if you want to obtain benefits, you can only go out to the wild to adventure and fight. At that moment, the novice village chief's voice was heard again. Wu Wudi, there are a total of 8,763 low-grade cities that you can go to. Which one will you choose? Whatever. We'll go to the nearest one. Xia Ping didn't really care. Freshman village chief. Alright, random selection. Wu Wudi will be heading to the low-level city, Far East City. A beam of light immediately enveloped Xia Ping's body, and in the next second he disappeared from where he stood. Boom! When Xia Ping opened his eyes, he found himself in the middle of a huge city's teleportation array. There was an endless stream of horses and carriages all around, and people were coming and going. This was an ancient city just like an ancient capital. There was an antique atmosphere everywhere, crisscrossing and extending in all directions. The surrounding buildings were all made of huge rocks. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At the same time, there were flashes of light around the teleportation array from time to time. Many people were coming out from the teleportation array. Some of them had just come out of the novice village, some had teleported from other low-level cities, and some had just come online. In short, it was extremely lively and bustling. At a glance, there were at least hundreds of thousands of people in this place. How lively! Xia Ping stroked his chin and looked at the surroundings. He felt that this Far East city was many times more lively than the novice village. There were people coming and going, and countless races from the universe had appeared in this place. Right, I wonder if there's any way to earn a large sum of universe credits? Xia Ping felt that he needed a large amount of universe dollars. After all, in the universe without money, it would be difficult to move an inch. Just the cultivation resources alone would cost a lot of money. Although he had obtained 49 million universe coins from the novice village, which was already considered a huge fortune in the eyes of ordinary aliens, but for his future plans, it was just a drop in the bucket. You want to make money in the virtual world? There's only one word to describe it: hard, hard, hard. Corinne shook his head. Most of the aliens can only spend money on the internet and there are very few who can make money. This is especially true for cultivators in the Violet Palace realm. The origin path is extremely difficult. Most people can only come out to work, serving dishes, being waiters, entering factories as assembly line workers, or guarding the door for rich people. They can be beaten and scolded and they get 10 universe dollars per hour. They work 8 hours a day and earn a salary of about 2,000 universe dollars per month, earning a meager salary. They eat and drink, pay rent, water, electricity and so on, plus training, and they won't have any money left. But it doesn't matter. This is just the beginning. When you advance to the Divine Power realm or even the Fulfillment realm, there will be a lot more ways to make money, and you can become a rich person. But it takes hundreds or thousands of years to accumulate, so you can take your time. It had already formulated a 1,000-year plan for Xia Ping to slowly advance to the artifact refining realm, down to earth, steady and sure, spending hundreds of years of cultivation time. In this way, Xia Ping could slowly grow up and become a powerhouse in the universe. Although it would take a long time, it was very safe and he wouldn't encounter too much danger. In the universe, being awesome at the beginning was nothing. What mattered was who lived longer and who would be the final winner. Isn't there any way to get rich overnight? Xia Ping asked curiously. Bullshit. Corinne was exasperated at Xia Ping's failure to meet his expectations. Don't have the idea of getting rich overnight. You can't bite off more than you can chew. Many people become useless because of such illusory delusions. It is undeniable that there are indeed such people in this world, but they are very few. What you have to do is to be down to earth and slowly grow up. It tried its best to dissuade Xiaoping. Little brother. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. It was a middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks, wearing a flowery shirt, looking like a treacherous businessman. He directly blocked in front of Xiaoping. What's the matter? Xiaoping curiously looked at the middle-aged man who suddenly appeared. Looking at your appearance, you should be someone who just entered a low-level city. The middle-aged man faintly smiled. Xiaoping nodded. Yes, how do you know? Well, I'm very good at judging people. The man in the flowery shirt had a proud look on his face, but in his heart, he was very contemptuous. Kid, you came out of the teleportation array and looked around like a newbie. Who doesn't know that you are a newbie who just entered a low-level city? However, he wouldn't say such words. After all, newbies like you are easy to deceive. You are the representative of a fool with a lot of money. Why are you looking for me? Xiaoping asked. It's like this. The man in the flowery shirt coughed and said, looking at your appearance, you should not know much about this low-level city. Do you know what the first thing to do after coming to Far East City is? Do what? Xiaoping looked at the man in the flowery shirt. The man in the flowery shirt had a very serious look on his face as he stretched out a finger. Nothing else, just buy a pair of Gale shoes. Chapter 1088. Gale shoes? Xiaoping was puzzled as he looked at the man in the flowery shirt. That's right. Coming to a low-level city is just the beginning. The man in the flowery shirt said in a deep voice, you need to go out into the wilderness to train and obtain opportunities. The problem is that the wilderness is too big. If you rely on your own walking speed, you don't know how much time you'll waste. However, it'll be completely different if you have a pair of Gale shoes. They can increase your movement speed by 5 times. You'll be able to walk like the wind and come and go freely in the wilderness, saving a lot of time. Don't you think it'll be very convenient if you have a pair of Gale shoes? Hearing this, Xiaoping nodded. You're right. It's indeed very convenient. If the wilderness was large, a pair of treasured shoes like this could increase one's movement speed. It was a rare support treasure for any cultivator. Right? The man in the flowery shirt said proudly, this pair of mine is the famous Gale shoes. The original price is $1,000 UniverSe, but I'll sell it to you at a discount. It's only $100 UniverSe. What? Only $100 UniverSe? Isn't that $900 UniverSe cheaper? Xiaoping said in surprise. That's right. It's a full $900 UniverSe cheaper. The man in the flowery shirt looked sorrowful. In fact, if my mother wasn't sick and needed injections and medicine every day, I wouldn't want to sell it at such a low price. It can be said that if you miss this opportunity, there won't be another one. Hearing this, Xiaoping said emotionally, I didn't expect you to be a filial son. No. How can I be a filial son? It's just that my mother gave birth to me and raised me. Now that she's sick, I have to treat her illness even if I have to sell everything I have. This is just my duty. Of course, I'm not a very rich person and I don't have any skills. I can only be a prostitute and serve those fat and rich women. I've worked my heart out and racked my brains. If it really doesn't work, I'll occasionally go to the black market to sell some blood in exchange for medical expenses. Of course, this is just a small matter. It's not a big deal. The man in the flowery shirt waved his hand modestly. However, after saying these words, he suddenly felt a little regretful. Did he say these words a little too much? What if this kid didn't believe him? However, before he could speak, Xiaoping said, for his mother, he sold his looks and chose to be a prostitute. He even sold his blood. It's really touching. He's definitely a filial son. To be honest, the person I admire the most is a filial son. He also likes to help others. Tell me, how many Gale shoes do you have? I want them all. He patted the shoulder of the man in the flowery shirt, showing a look of wealth. Xiaoping, don't be fooled. Corinne suddenly became anxious and immediately reminded, these are not storm shoes but counterfeit shoes. On the surface they look very similar, but in fact they are inferior goods. Being able to increase one's speed by 10% is already pretty good. I estimate that the wholesale price is only a few dozen universe coins. If it's the real deal, there would be people willing to buy it at a price of a few hundred universe credits. Can't be this cheap. It felt that Xiaoping had been deceived. All of them? Hearing this, the man in the flowery shirt was immediately overjoyed. He knew that he had waited for so many days and finally met a fool with a lot of money. If he didn't scam him now, when would he be able to? He was afraid that a long delay would bring trouble, so he quickly said, Thank you, boss. I still have 100 pairs of Gale shoes. 100 pairs? That's too little. Xia Ping touched his chin. Can you give me a little more? I want 1,000,000 pairs. What? The man in the flowery shirt was dumbfounded. He thought he had heard wrong. This kid was not satisfied with 100 pairs. He actually wanted 1,000,000 pairs. Was he crazy? Did he know how much this was worth? This was a super big deal worth 100 million universe credits. Even though the man in the flowery shirt had cheated countless people, he had never cheated such a large amount. This was beyond his imagination, and he began to be a little dumbfounded. After all, he usually only earned some money from petty theft. Tens of thousands of universe credits in a month was already considered a big harvest. Occasionally he would have no harvest. Suddenly he came into contact with a big deal worth 100 million universe credits. He was immediately shocked. Don't you have any? Forget it if you don't. Seeing that the man in the flowery shirt had not spoken for a long time, Xia Ping spoke. Yes. Of course I do. The man in the flowery shirt immediately panicked. He was afraid that he would miss this big deal. Are you serious? Do you have that many cheap Gale shoes? Xia Ping asked suspiciously. The man in the flowery shirt instantly patted his chest. Although I don't have that many Gale shoes, I have a lot of friends. I even know some big bosses. If you ask them for the goods, they will definitely be able to take out 1,000,000 pairs. Moreover, the price is also 100 universe credits. I'm honest, he guaranteed. Since they were all knockoffs of the Gale shoes, the cost was naturally very low. But why did you buy so many Gale shoes? The man in the flowery shirt had also calmed down. He looked at Xia Ping with a little doubt. To do business, of course. Xia Ping said carelessly, think about it carefully. The Gale shoes are worth 1,000 universe credits. The current cost is only 100 universe credits. If I take the goods from you and sell them to someone else, won't I earn 900 universe credits? How can there be such a profitable business in the world? Previously, my dad said that I was a prodigal who didn't know how to do business and only knew how to spend money. Now, I'm going to prove to him that earning money is a very simple matter. I can earn hundreds of millions of universe credits in minutes. He was elated and felt that he had made a huge profit. The man in the flowery shirt was speechless. He finally understood that he had met a young master from a rich family. Usually he did not do anything but spend money. He reckoned that after being reprimanded by his father, he took out a huge pile of money to prove his ability and make a big deal. He had heard of such things many times. He did not expect that he would meet such a person now. Without a doubt, this was the kind of person who was stupid but had too much money. If he did not plunder a huge sum of money from this kid, could he still be considered a human? However, the man in the flowery shirt was still very cautious. He asked, "Little brother, buying 1,000,000 pairs of Gale shoes requires a lot of money. May I ask if you have that much money on you?" "I don't have much money. I only have about 40 million universe credits on me." Xia Ping tapped lightly and a projection immediately appeared. It showed his account balance. A total of 49 million universe credits. Chapter 1089. I've been flirting with girls recently and have spent quite a lot of money. I'm only left with this little bit of money. You don't mind, right? Xia Ping looked embarrassed. Damn it, it was really a case of people dying of cold on the road. The man's face turned green. It was almost 50 million universe dollars and he was still acting like a pretentious prick, saying that it was only a little bit of money on him. How could he be so irritating? He even said that he indulged in debauchery and spent most of his money. My God, how could he indulge in debauchery to spend so much money? Poverty had completely limited his imagination. At this moment, the man in the colorful shirt understood the feeling of envy, jealousy, and hate. This guy's life was too good. It was because he was born in a good family that he could eat, drink, and play with beautiful women all day. He could even be a loser. However, an outstanding person like him could only scam people all day to earn some pocket money. How could there be such a big gap between people? He was not convinced. No, I don't mind. Although he was so angry that he almost vomited blood, the man in the colorful shirt still pretended to be calm. He pretended that he had seen a lot of things and that a mere 50 million universe dollars was nothing to him. However, his eyes betrayed him. He was still staring at the shocking figure on the bank account balance. His eyes were red and he could not wait to take the money for himself. That's good. Xia Ping said with satisfaction. I want to use this money as a deposit to buy 1,000,000 pairs of Gale shoes. I'll ask my dad to transfer some pocket money for the rest. How about that? Pocket money? The man in the flowery shirt felt that his nerves had been severely stimulated. 50 million universe credits was this guy's pocket money. Just how rich was this bastard normally? Did he spend all his time with women and debauchery? Damn it, if he did not swindle this rich second-generation heir of a huge sum of money and rob the rich to help the poor, he would not be human. He made up his mind fiercely, and his eyes revealed a savage look. Sure, that's totally fine. The man in the colorful shirt immediately said, I'll contact the others first and ask about the specific situation. How about we sign the contract after I've contacted them? He looked at Xiaoping. No problem. I'll wait for your news. Don't make me wait too long. Xiaoping said. Don't worry. Just give me half a day. I promise I'll get it done quickly. The man in the flowery shirt patted his chest and exchanged contact information with Xiaoping. Then he turned around and left in a hurry. After all, this was a transaction worth 100 million universe credits. If he missed this opportunity, he might not get another one. Looking at the man in flowery shirt leaving, Corinne looked at Xiaoping. What kind of bad idea do you have? Previously it thought that Xiaoping had been deceived, but when Xiaoping planned to buy 1 million pairs, it knew that this guy was definitely up to no good. Who knew how many people had been deceived by this guy, the kind that didn't even have underwear? Of course it's to make money. Just wait and see. This time I'm going to make a lot of money. Who knows, I might be able to gather enough money to repair the spaceship. Xiaoping said with a smile. What? Corinne was very surprised. What is this brat planning? But if Xiaoping doesn't say, he also doesn't understand. At this moment, the man in the flowery shirt immediately returned to an inn in Far East City. Then he immediately contacted his nearby companions and made a long-distance video call. Brat, why did you suddenly call me? Yeah, I'm busy. I just caught a fish and want to swindle him of a few hundred universe credits. You don't come to the temple for no reason. As a brother, I'll tell you first that all the money on me is gone. Where did I take all of it before? Even if you want to borrow money, I don't have it. That's right. If you want money, I don't have it. If you want my life, do as you see fit. A group of people chattered. Many people suspected that this guy called to borrow money. Shut up, you bunch of idiots. I'm not here to borrow money. I have a big deal to tell you. It's worth hundreds of millions of universe credits. The man in the flowery shirt was immensely proud of himself. Once it succeeds, I'll be rich. He immediately told his companions about his encounter with a super fish. At the same time, he also told Xiaoping that he planned to buy 1 million pairs of pirated Gale shoes. It can't be. Is this for real? Is this kid an idiot? Can't he see that it's fake? Sometimes, that group of second-generation rich people are idiots. If their fathers weren't rich, they would have been played to death long ago. We can't underestimate them. Sometimes, some second-generation rich people are quite smart. Be careful not to get fooled. That's right. Be careful not to be fooled by him. Whether he's really a second-generation rich or not, I still don't believe that your luck is that good. Although many people were tempted, there were also many who were skeptical. They felt that there was no way such a big pie would fall from the sky and hit them on the head. Some people were worried that it might be a trap. Idiots, all of you, shut up. The man in the flowery shirt said in disdain, the problems you're worried about aren't problems at all. That brat is undoubtedly a second-generation rich person. Do you think anyone has 50 million universe credits in their bank account? How can this be fake? Moreover, as long as we sign the contract and pay the deposit, where can that brat run off to? Do you think it's possible to fool us old hands? In short, this is a big deal. Even if you don't want to do it, someone else will. He could not be bothered with those doubting idiots. An opportunity like this would disappear in a flash. He would not miss this chance to get rich overnight even if he was beaten to death. Even if these companions around him did not want to do it, he would find someone else to do it. This world lacked many things, but there was no shortage of people who wanted to get rich. Upon hearing this, the group of companions became anxious. Don't be angry. That's right. We're just suspicious out of habit. It's an occupational disease. That's right. You guys are really something. There's a chance to get rich, and Brother Hua is now willing to lead the brothers to do it. What else do we have to doubt? That's right. We're all old hands. If there's anything wrong, of course we'll be able to detect it immediately. I don't believe that the second-generation rich person can be more cunning than us. If we miss this opportunity, there won't be another one. Anyway, let's go meet that second-generation rich person first. It's just 1 million pairs of knockoff Storm shoes. This is just a small matter. With the strength of the brothers, it'll be easy to get it. The group of people hurriedly shouted, afraid that the man in the flowery shirt would get angry and leave them behind, leaving the team to get rich. After all, this was a big deal worth 100 million universe credits. This might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Even if some of them had many doubts, they could not bear to leave. Chapter 1090. One day later. Universe Virtual Network, Far East City, in a restaurant room. At this time, many people appeared in this room. They were the partners of the flowery shirt man from before, and Xiaoping was also invited, becoming their guest. Alright, the contract has been signed. I'll first transfer 10 million universe dollars as a deposit, after which you'll send the goods over quickly. There shouldn't be any problems, right? Xiaoping sat in his seat like a lord, as if he didn't care about 10 million universe dollars at all. He completely displayed the appearance of a hedonistic son of a rich family, absolutely rich and overbearing. Of course, that's to be expected. We'll send the goods over as soon as possible. Thank you, young Master Wu, for taking care of our business. Right, we're really grateful. If it wasn't for young Master Wu bringing us rich, we wouldn't even have this opportunity. Seeing the contract signed, the flowery shirt man and the rest immediately relaxed, because the moment the contract was signed, there would be legal effects. No matter where the other party fled to, they wouldn't be able to escape. Even if they broke the contract, they wouldn't be able to log into the Universe Virtual Network for the rest of their lives. Even if they changed their identity, because the Universe Virtual Network account was bound to the soul, it was unique. Of course, they could use different accounts, different names to log into the network. The Universe Virtual Network company wouldn't care, as long as they didn't break the contract. But the moment they did, the Universe Virtual Network company would definitely pursue them. In the universe, if they couldn't log into the network, then their lives were over. Unless they were in a desperate situation, no one would dare to do such a stupid thing. What's there to be polite about? If I earn money, there's food for me, there'll be drinks for you, we'll all earn together. This society is all about a win-win situation. You're good, I'm good, everyone's good. Xiaoping pretended to be an experienced man. Earn my ass. The flowery shirt man and the rest all looked down on this rich young master. According to his intellect, he was really just helping the person earn money after being sold. He didn't even know what was happening. And he was still acting like he wasn't as good as an old fox in the business world, and still wanted everyone to earn together. It would be good if he didn't lose so much this time. The only ones who could earn money were smart people like them. Of course, without such a sucker, they wouldn't be able to earn so much money. For such a stupid rich person, they naturally hoped that he would be as stupid as possible. That way they could squeeze more money out of him, becoming rich. Young Master Wu, thank you so much. You are simply the #1 philanthropist in the world. To be able to meet such a kind and rich person like you, we are really lucky. That's right, if young Master Wu has any orders, we're willing to go through fire and water and sacrifice our lives for it. The man in the flowery shirt and the others all went forward to flatter him. After all, flattery didn't cost money. If they could flatter this rich second generation, they might be able to get another sum of money. By the way, is there any place in Far East City where I can sell goods? I'm looking for a place to sell these Gale shoes and make a fortune. I'll be rich overnight. Xiaoping said carelessly. The man in the flowery shirt and the others were speechless. These were all knockoffs of the Gale shoes. No one would pay attention to them even if they were to be sold. This kid actually wanted to get rich overnight. He was crazy. The moment he took out the Gale shoes, he would probably be beaten up by the angry crowd. However, no one exposed the truth. In short, after completing the deal, they would slip away and never see each other again. Someone immediately said, Young Master Wu, there's a market in the west of Far East City. As long as you pay a small management fee, you can set up a stall there and sell your goods. If young Master Wu wants to sell his goods, you can go there. Upon hearing this, Xiaoping was very satisfied. Not bad, let's go to the West City. I'll take these goods and sell them. I'll be able to make a huge sum of money tomorrow. I'll treat you guys to a good meal then. He waved his hand in a very forthright manner. The man in the flowery shirt and the others were speechless. They could imagine the tragic outcome of this kid going to the market and selling the knockoffs of the Gale shoes. Being beaten up would be considered a light punishment. It might even leave an indelible psychological scar. However, this had nothing to do with them. After completing the deal, they would disappear into the vast sea of people. No matter how angry this kid was, he wouldn't be able to find them. All of them went forward to flatter him. They thought that Wu Wudi's goods would definitely be popular and his business would prosper. When the time came, he would earn a huge sum of money. Then, the man in the flowery shirt and the others found an excuse and quickly slipped away. They were afraid that Xia Ping would discover the truth and cause trouble for them. An hour later, Xia Ping arrived at the Western City Bazaar. He casually paid the management fee, then set up a stall and took out a few pairs of Gale shoes. Following that, he took out a board and wrote some big words on it. Storm shoes for sale, 1,000 universe dollars per pair, no bargaining if you want to buy, hurry, fair trade, return 3 times the price. Originally, this was just an ordinary stall and there were similar stalls everywhere, so it didn't attract any attention at all. However, Xia Ping had secretly hired many people to act as customers, and there were dozens of them to attract more people. Sure enough, this trick was very effective. An ordinary stall was surrounded by dozens of people. Compared to other stalls with only a few flies, the difference was immediately apparent. Immediately, Xia Ping's stall was noticed by the people around him. They curiously walked over and surrounded Xia Ping's stall. "Brother, isn't this stall selling Gale shoes? What's there to see? There are so many similar stalls. Why are there so many people surrounding it?" Someone asked curiously. "It's not strange to sell Gale shoes, but to sell counterfeit Gale shoes and shamelessly sell them at the same price as the original Gale shoes, that's quite strange," a person immediately said. "What?" The surrounding people focused their eyes and immediately saw the shoes on the stall. Wasn't that right? These were definitely counterfeit Gale shoes, and the price didn't exceed 100 universe dollars. However, this kid actually dared to sell them for 1,000 universe dollars. He was simply crazy. Which idiot would buy counterfeit Gale shoes at such a price? Did he think that others were idiots? Immediately, they understood why this stall was suddenly surrounded by so many people. They were definitely here to watch the idiot. However, before they could see the joke, a person immediately stood up and shouted, "Boss, 10 pairs of Gale shoes, I want them." What? The surrounding people were dumbfounded. There was actually such an idiot in this world, spending 1,000 universe dollars to buy a pair of counterfeit Gale shoes, and to buy 10 pairs at that. 10,000 universe dollars went down the drain just like that. Did he have too much money to spend? That was definitely a scam. Chapter 1091. Just as the surrounding people were about to leave, not wanting to watch this shoddy performance, the customer asked, "Boss, are these Gale shoes real? If they're fake, I don't want them." "Of course they're real. I Woody only sell the real thing. I never sell fakes." Xia Ping's expression was stern and righteous. "I'm famous for being particular about the quality of my goods." The group of people looked at Xia Ping speechlessly. This was clearly a knockoff, and anyone with a discerning eye could see it. However, this guy actually dared to boast so shamelessly. He was simply slapping himself in the face. He was extremely stupid. "It's written here. If it's fake, I'll pay 3 times the price. Is this real? Is this a scam?" The customer's eyes flickered as he pointed at the words on the board. "Of course it's real." Xia Ping patted his chest. "I'm very confident in the quality of my goods. If it's fake, I'll definitely pay 3 times the price. I'm a fair trade. If you don't believe me, we can sign a contract under the witness of the law. In that case, you'll believe me. In the virtual network, no one dares to violate a contract." What? The surrounding people were all shocked. They looked at Xia Ping as if he was an idiot. These were clearly knockoffs of the Gale shoes. They were all fakes. Without a doubt, if they were to be sold, this fellow would definitely lose his entire fortune. But this fellow actually dared to sign a contract with someone else. If it was fake, he would pay 3 times the price. This was crazy. They had never seen such an idiot in their lives. Did he think he had too much money on him? "Ah, we're rich this time. We're indeed rich. I know this fellow. He's the famous prodigal Woody. He's the direct heir of the Wu family from a certain planet. His family's net worth is over 100 billion. He's used to being extravagant. This time he wanted to do business, but he didn't expect to be cheated. He didn't even know that he bought a batch of fakes and foolishly bought them as the real thing. He's really stupid to the extreme. If it's fake, we'll pay 3 times the price. If we buy 10 pairs of Gale shoes and they're all fakes, this fellow will pay 3 times the price. If we sue him in court, this fellow will have to compensate us at least 30,000 universe dollars. TSK, he can earn 30,000 universe dollars just by changing hands. How can there be such a profitable business in this world? Isn't that right? If I buy 100 pairs, I'll earn 300,000 universe credits. According to my current salary, I'll need at least 10 years to earn that much. This is simply a windfall. The more we buy, the more this kid will lose. But he won't go back on his word, right? He's already signed the contract, how would he dare to go back on his word? He thinks the laws of the universe virtual network are fake, who would dare to go against the law? Looks like I have to raise funds quickly and buy more Gale shoes. Only then can I scam a large sum of money from this prodigal. You're right. You won't get another chance if you miss this one. A few people were discussing among themselves and they spoke in hushed voices. However, the people around them were all cultivators, so their hearing was very good. Therefore, they were able to hear the content of the conversation in an instant. Their minds were all active. So that was how it was. The group of people understood why the person just now wanted to buy 10 pairs of Gale shoes. It seemed like this guy had already noticed that those were counterfeit Gale shoes. He wasn't an idiot, nor was he a scammer. He also wasn't trying to waste his money. Instead, he wanted to take advantage of the other party's compensation to extort 30,000 universe dollars from this prodigal. Try to think about it. If they bought 100 pairs, they could get the kid to compensate 300,000 universe dollars. If they bought 1,000 pairs, that would be 3 million universe dollars. This was a huge sum of money. What was a windfall? This was a windfall. The money in this world was not as easy to earn as it was now. Instantly their eyes lit up. They felt that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. No wonder so many people surrounded this stall. They must have seen this opportunity to earn money. We must take advantage of this prodigal's stupidity to earn a huge sum of money from him. Just speak softly. Don't be too loud. If that prodigal knows the truth, I reckon he won't sign the contract with us. Then the chance to earn a fortune will be gone. Yes. You're right. We must not let this kid wake up. We must be careful. Hurry up and buy a few pairs of Gale shoes. Buy as many as you can. The eyes of the surrounding people flickered as they secretly communicated with each other. The atmosphere was eerily silent. They couldn't contain the excitement and agitation in their hearts, as well as the fact that they were about to make a fortune. What are you looking at? If you're not going to buy anything, don't just stand here. Hurry up and get lost. Don't hinder my business, Xia Ping shouted arrogantly. Fuck this damn prodigal. Hearing this, the corners of the surrounding people's mouths twitched. Their faces darkened. They all wanted to beat this kid up. He was doing business to this extent. They didn't want to buy anything, but he actually wanted to chase them away. Such a bad attitude. How could such a person run a successful business? Didn't he know that the customer was king? No wonder this guy was a prodigal. Who knew how much of his family's wealth he had squandered until today? If this was an ordinary shop, they would turn around and leave. They wouldn't buy anything from this place even if they were beaten to death. They would let this arrogant boss suffer for the whole day and have a taste of what business failure felt like. But this was a stall that gave them a chance to make a lot of money. Only a fool would leave. Boss, I want 10 pairs of Gale shoes. I want 20 pairs. A bunch of poor people. 50 pairs. Boss, just give me 50 pairs of Gale shoes. Get lost. Don't fight with me. 100 pairs. I want 100 pairs. I'll be angry with you if there's even one less pair. Remember to sign the contract with us. If you don't sign the contract, we won't take it. Many people immediately shouted. Each of them bought 10 pairs of Gale shoes. It was as if they had used up most of their liquid funds to fight for the Gale shoes in this stall. In just an hour, the people around him had ordered 30,000 pairs of Gale shoes, and the number was still increasing at an exponential rate. It could be said that Xia Ping's stall was now completely surrounded. It had attracted the attention of the entire market. Thank you, everyone, for your support. Xia Ping cupped his hands and said, everyone is really too enthusiastic. I don't have so many goods with me at the moment. So let's sign the contract first. After that, I'll send the goods one by one. He decided to postpone the shipment. No problem. Signing the contract is the most important thing. That's right. We can send the goods anytime. We're not in a hurry at all. That's right. Let's sign the contract first. The surrounding people didn't mind at all. Their goal was to extort this rich second-generation heir. Signing the contract was the most important thing. With this contract, this guy wouldn't be able to run away. He wouldn't be able to leave without paying a large sum of money. Chapter 1092. There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. Soon, the news of Xia Ping's stall spread throughout Far East City. Everyone in the streets knew about it, especially the man in the colorful shirt and his gang. They were the first to know about it. After all, in order to prevent Xia Ping from flipping out, they had sent some underlings to keep an eye on him. They wanted to know Xiaoping's movements so that they could escape immediately if anything happened. However, they had never expected such a thing to happen. Not only was the kid's stall not deserted, but it was also extremely crowded. There was a long queue, and almost all the knockoffs of the Gale shoes were sold out. That kid is completely crazy. He even wants to pay 3 times the price. Doesn't he know that these Gale shoes are all knockoffs? If the people who bought these shoes take them to court, this prodigal might even lose his entire fortune. The man in the colorful shirt was speechless. He felt that the kid was not just stupid. He was simply crazy. Yes, I received news that many people in Far East City are going crazy. They are madly running to that kid's stall and buying hundreds of pairs of shoes as if they're free. Oh my God, when did the Gale shoes become a hot item? So many people are fighting to buy them. Many people did not know how to describe their feelings. How can they not be crazy? Buying 10 pairs of Gale shoes will earn 30,000 universe dollars. 100 pairs will be 300,000 universe dollars, and 1,000 pairs will be 3 million universe dollars. If they don't buy them like crazy, when will they? Someone sighed. Damn, don't let the goodies flow to outsiders. Why don't we buy them too? That's right. Even if he doesn't get cheated of a large sum of money by us, he will be cheated by others. Why not let us benefit? Why don't we seize this opportunity to get rich? That's right. There's no time to lose. Let's immediately mobilize our funds and buy all the Gale shoes from this kid's stall. Don't leave a single pair for others. The man in the colorful shirt and the others clenched their fists. Their eyes had turned into money symbols. They were extremely excited, as if they had dug up a huge gold mine. Wait, that kid contacted me and said that he wants a large number of Gale shoes. He hopes that I can provide them, but he doesn't have that much money at the moment. He can only buy on credit. Suddenly, the man in the colorful shirt received a call from Xiaoping. He had a strange expression on his face. He did not expect Xiaoping to want more knockoff Gale shoes. Someone immediately shouted, "Give it to him. Sell as much as you have. It doesn't matter if you don't pay a deposit. You can even buy it on credit." Aha, this kid really thinks he's a business genius. A large group of people wants to buy his shoes, but he doesn't know that all of them are here for the compensation. What an idiot. If this goes on, his family's fortune will be squandered away by him. What does it have to do with us? It's not like we're squandering our family's money. Now we have to scam as much as we can. If his dad knew about this, he would probably stuff him back into his mom's stomach. Wealth does not last for 3 generations. There is some truth to this. Anyone who met such a deceptive son would vomit blood. Many people were excited. They were worried that they couldn't get more money from Xiaoping. They didn't expect that this kid would walk into the trap and deliver himself to their door. He was clearly a fat sheep that was delivered to their door for them to eat. If they did not seize this opportunity, they would definitely be struck by lightning. Other than the man in the flowery shirt and the other people in Far East City also began to go crazy. They quickly contacted their friends and relatives to inform them of this great news. Hurry, 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 come to Far East City. There's a stupid and rich prodigal here. Come quickly. If you miss this village, you won't have this shop again. Hurry up and buy the Gale shoes. This is a great opportunity to earn money. He's simply here to pick up money. A windfall has fallen from the sky. This is the god of fortune giving out red packets. Countless people shouted excitedly and informed their friends and relatives. Some even brought their families and brought a large sum of money over. They all surrounded Xiaoping's stall. There was also a long queue at this stall with 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. In the market, other than Xiaoping's stall, the other stalls were all crowded. Most of the people had been attracted over. Rubbing shoulders was not enough to describe such a grand occasion. There were even people who queued up overnight and brought tents over, hoping to buy the Gale shoes from this stall. The whole of Far East City reacted upon hearing the news. Most of the people went crazy as if celebrating the spring festival. They all rushed into the West City market of Far East City. It was unprecedentedly lively. After a few days, Xiaoping announced that the sale of the Gale shoes this time had ended. That was because all the knockoffs of the Gale shoes in the whole city had been swept clean by him. There was not a single pair left. Even if he wanted to continue selling, it was impossible. Hence he ended it early. However, there were still countless people who went crazy hoping to buy it. They were still queuing up, crying for their parents, hoping that Xiaoping would continue selling. However, Xiaoping did not care. He did some calculations. In the past few days, he had sold a total of 2 billion universe dollars. If anyone knew this number, they would definitely be scared half to death. He did not expect the people of Far East City to be so crazy. They simply did not treat money as money. Haha brother, how many pairs of Gale shoes did you buy this time? It's a pity that I was a little slow and didn't have enough money. I only bought 10 pairs. Hehe, I scraped together some money and even borrowed from loan sharks to buy 100 pairs. Oh my god, you're awesome. However, you've made a fortune this time. Remember to treat your brother to a meal after you get rich. You're too kind. This is just a small matter. When I get the knockoff Gale shoes, I will immediately file a lawsuit and ask that prodigal to compensate for my losses. When that time comes, I will have money to spend as much as I want. Tisk tiske, that prodigal is in trouble. I wonder how much compensation he will have to pay. Humph, it's none of our business. Anyway, none of these rich people are good people. I don't know how much wealth they have plundered from the people to earn so much money. It's only right for us to take it back. This is called taking from the people and using it for the people. That's right. There's no need for any sympathy. Tomorrow is the delivery day. I really want to see that kid cry. This is actually a lesson for him. Let him get some growth education and let him know that doing business is not so easy. This is an education that we love. I really hope that kid does something stupid a few times. Then I will have enough money to buy a house. Many people were proud of themselves. They were all looking forward to tomorrow's arrival. All of them were rubbing their fists, waiting to sue Xiaoping and extort a large sum of compensation. The next morning, those who bought Xiaoping's Gale shoes received knockoff Gale shoes one after another. Damn, what's going on? A person who bought 10 pairs of knockoff Gale shoes was dumbfounded. This was because he discovered that he had not only received 10 pairs of knockoff Gale shoes, but he had received 40 pairs. Chapter 1093. At this moment, at a stall in the Far East City's West City Market, Xiaoping had deliberately appeared at this stall. At this time, a large group of people surrounded the market. The crowd was surging and it was even livelier than the new year. Profiteer, how dare you sell fake goods to us? Compensate us immediately. That's right, I've checked. All the Gale shoes you sent over are fake. Not a single pair is real. Not a single fucking pair. Hurry up and compensate us for our losses, or we'll definitely sue you until you go bankrupt. Countless people shouted for Xiaoping to compensate for their losses. All of them had greedy looks in their eyes, as if they could not wait to rob Xiaoping of all his money. That's right, those Gale shoes are indeed fake, but according to the contract, I've already compensated you for your losses. I'll compensate you 3 times for the fake ones. Xiaoping admitted that those were indeed fake Gale shoes. Moreover, he had already compensated them and had done everything according to the contract. He had not broken the law. Compensate my ass. A strong man cursed. I bought 10 pairs of fake Gale shoes and you sent me 40 pairs. This is fucking compensation? He wanted to punch Xiaoping in the face. What's the matter? What's there to be unhappy about? Didn't I admit that they were fake? There's no need for you to sue me. I'll compensate you directly. It'll save everyone's time. Don't be too grateful to me. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back. In order to save time, he directly sent 3 times the compensation for the Gale shoes. No, that's not right. The contract isn't like this. The so-called one-times compensation should be 3,000 universe dollars for each pair of fake Gale shoes we bought. Who the fuck wants 3 pairs of your fake Gale shoes? Is there something wrong with his head? Someone said angrily. He had bought a total of 100 pairs of fake Gale shoes, and now this bastard had directly sent him 400 pairs. Even if he wore a new pair a day, it would take him more than a year to finish wearing them all. Which idiot would buy so many pairs of the same shoes? He even wanted to kill Xiaoping now. What do you mean it's not like this? Don't be unreasonable here. Do you see the line at the bottom of the contract? The final right of interpretation belongs to Wu Wudi. You were the one who misunderstood and you wrongly accused others. Do you know what shame is? If there's nothing else, get out. Don't hinder my business. Xiaoping pointed at the line at the bottom of the contract. What? Everyone was stunned. Only now did they realize that there was indeed such a line in the contract. Previously they did not care about this line, but now it seemed that this line was extremely powerful. In other words, according to this rule, this kid could explain whatever he wanted. It was their fault for letting their imaginations run wild. It had nothing to do with Xiaoping. But this way they had spent a lot of money to buy a bunch of counterfeit Gale shoes. What was the use of that? Weren't they just giving money to this shameless bastard? Invincible dog Riwu, this is fraud, this is clearly fraud. What do you mean by one compensation of 3? This is a fraud. I'm going to sue you in court. That's right. Pay us back immediately. We won't buy these broken shoes anymore. You sold us a bunch of fake shoes and you're still so arrogant. Is there still justice in this world? Instantly, countless people cursed and glared at Xiaoping. They wanted to skin him alive and pull out his tendons. All of them were so angry that their heads were about to emit smoke. Some people even wanted to rush up, grab Xiaoping and beat him up. Guards, someone come, someone come. Some unruly people want to hit me. Hurry up and arrest these unruly people. Xiaoping immediately shouted and informed the nearby city guards. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Immediately, countless virtual guards rushed out from the streets and alleys. In the city it was an absolute safety zone. Anyone who dared to fight in the city would be arrested and sent to the virtual prison. According to the severity of the crime, they would be sentenced to different terms. As soon as these guards appeared, everyone present did not dare to move. In the city these guards were absolute authority. No one dared to resist. A group of unreasonable, unruly people. If you want to sue me, sue me. I'll wait for your lawyer's letter. If you can make me pay a dime, I'll consider it my loss. Xiaoping said disdainfully, buying and selling is done according to the contract. Both parties are willing. I didn't force you to buy my Gale shoes before. Now you're still here talking nonsense. To be honest, I'm right here. If you're not satisfied, come and hit me. He stood with his hands behind his back and looked at everyone disdainfully. Fuck. The group of people were so angry that their faces turned red and their lungs almost exploded. They had never seen such an arrogant liar. If this was not the city's safety zone, this bastard liar would have been torn to pieces by the angry crowd. How could they allow this kid to be so arrogant and unscrupulous? Bastard liar, will immediately sue the court and expose this bastard's fraud. That's right, I don't believe that there's no justice in this world. Everyone join forces and sue this kid until he's bankrupt. Everyone shouted. In the city's safety zone, they knew that even if they blocked this place, they would not be able to do anything to this liar, Wu Wudi. They could only watch this kid continue to be arrogant. Therefore they all decided to immediately sue the court, hoping to sue this kid until he went to jail. However, when these people tried to sue Xiaoping, they were all rejected by the city's court. They thought that these were unreasonable acts and did not accept the application for filing. What's going on? Did that son of a bitch collude with the court? Does he have someone behind him? So many people sued but they can't do anything to him. The judge said that this is in accordance with the contract and in full compliance with the laws and regulations. Wu Wudi did not break the law, so we are being unreasonable. If we continue to cause trouble, we will be charged with contempt of court, insulting others' reputation and other crimes. When that time comes, it will not only be as simple as compensating for the losses, we might even be jailed. Bullshit, that liar was not convicted but we good citizens are. Is there any justice in this world? Who is this law protecting? Fuck, that bastard is justified in selling fake goods? Of course there's no reason to sell fake goods, but the judge said that Wu Wudi has already compensated for the losses according to the contract, so he's not guilty. Compensate my ass. He only compensated me with 3 pairs of Gale shoes, and they were all fucking counterfeits. That's what the contract says. It's consensual. No, this isn't consensual. This is a trap. This is a scam. Is that dog judge blind? Shh, don't be too loud. If the judge hears this, he will definitely sue you for contempt of court. Previously, several people were arrested and locked up for 3 days as a warning to others. Fuck, he's already colluding and he's still so arrogant. Why is this world so dark? You can do whatever you want with money. Chapter 1094. I want a refund. I want a refund. Give me back my money. I don't want to buy any more. Someone shouted angrily, wanting to return the fake Gale shoes. Since there was no way to ask for compensation from the kid, what was the point of keeping the Gale shoes? They were just a hindrance in the warehouse. Stop dreaming. Have you ever seen a ferocious beast spit out meat when you throw it to it? I've never seen it. All the money is in the kid's pocket. It's harder for him to take it out than to become a saint. Luckily, I only bought a few pairs. Otherwise, I'd be bankrupt. Damn, I bought 100 pairs. 100 pairs. I spent 100,000 universe dollars, but I bought a bunch of fake goods. Is there any room for argument? Greed is harmful. Actually, I saw this guy's shifty eyes long ago. He's not a good person. Now that I see it, he's not a good person. Hindsight is 2020. What's the use of saying all this now? I was tricked by this kid. Fucking Wu Woody, I can't live under the same sky with him. Don't let me see this guy in Far East City. Otherwise, I'll beat him up every time I see him. Everyone discussed animatedly, all of them gnashing their teeth, hating Xiaoping to the extreme. Some people were glad because they couldn't get in the queue, so they didn't buy the fake Gale shoes. They didn't waste their money and give it to the scammer to eat and drink. They thought about how they couldn't get in the queue and begged Xiaoping to give them a chance to buy the Gale shoes. Now that they thought about it carefully, they shuddered. They were really lining up to give money to that bitch. They were still helping him count the money after being sold. How could Wu Woody be so cunning? His heart was definitely black, many times darker than ink. However, there were also people who were so angry that they vomited blood. In order to cheat the rich kid of a large sum of money, some people even borrowed money from loan sharks to buy 1,000 pairs. They spent $1 million universe dollars. They were basically bankrupt. Now they didn't know how to repay this debt. These people regretted it so much that their intestines turned green. If they hadn't been too greedy, they wouldn't have ended up like this. This was especially true for the man in the flowery shirt and the others. Their losses were the most severe. This was because Xiaoping had bought those knockoffs of the storm shoes on credit. Letting them pay for it in advance was like getting something for nothing. They also saw this business opportunity and spent money to buy a large number of counterfeit storm shoes. But this time they didn't earn a single cent. Instead, they lost more than half of their net worth, and all of it went to the rich second generation who cheated them. Damn it, which son of a bitch said he's a prodigal and a rich second generation son? Now he's trying to scam us. We've worked so hard to accumulate our hard-earned money, and now it's being scammed by that bitch Wu Woody. Is there any justice in this world? Bullshit prodigal. Whoever dares to call that kid an idiot again, I'll fight him to the death. Is there anyone more treacherous than him in this world? All of us are dead. Whoever thinks that kid is stupid is really stupid. His acting skills are top-notch. He pretended to be a good-for-nothing rich second generation. In the end, we all let our guard down and fell for it. The faces of the man in the flowery shirt and the others turned green. When they found out about this, it was as if they had been struck by lightning. As scammers, how could they not know that they had been scammed? They could forget about getting back the money they had spent on the storm shoes. This was like throwing a meat bun at a dog. There was no return. I heard that the turnover this time was $2 billion universe dollars. This kid earned at least $2 billion universe dollars. He made a killing. $2 billion universe dollars? I never dreamed that there would be such a huge number. It's like turning a hand over a cloud and turning a hand over a rain. This scammer is too skilled. He's not on the same level as us. This is an astronomical figure. How many people did we have to scam to earn that much money? Putting aside the fact that he lied to us, this is definitely a master-level move. Everyone was envious, jealous, and hateful. They usually only did some petty thievery to earn a little money. How could they have ever seen a huge sum like $2 billion universe dollars? But now Wu Woody had earned so much money with a flip of his hand. It was too shocking. As swindlers, they knew how difficult it was to do so. The people in Far East City were fooled by this kid like they were idiots. I didn't expect to be pecked in the eye by a wild goose all day long. As a scammer, I actually got cheated by my peers. This is the biggest joke of the year. Luning, this is all your fault. How do you think we should solve it? That's right. You have to be responsible for half of the losses this time. Many people looked at the man in the flowery shirt and gritted their teeth. If Lu Ning had not introduced this super scammer to them, they would not have suffered such a loss. It could be said that the culprit of everything was Lu Ning. This has nothing to do with me. The man in the flowery shirt, Lu Ning, immediately felt wronged. In fact, we did earn money at the beginning. If we had sold the storm shoes to that kid, we wouldn't have lost money. But who asked you to be greedy and spend a lot of money to buy the kid storm shoes in order to cheat him of a large sum of money? In the end, you got cheated. You asked for it. How can you blame me? He quickly distanced himself from this matter. If he was hated by this group of companions, he was afraid that he would be completely finished. He would not be able to escape even if he fled to the ends of the earth. Everyone was silent. That was indeed what he said. If they had not been too greedy and thought that they had a chance to cheat the rich second-generation heir again, this would not have happened. The problem was, how could they resist seeing that they had 3 times the profit? If the man in the flowery shirt had stopped them, they would probably have fallen out with him because he had blocked their path to wealth. But now it seemed that this was a bullshit path to wealth. It was clearly a gift to Wu Wuti. Is there any way to get our money back? Someone asked. He no longer hoped to cheat Xiaoping of his money. He just wanted to get his capital back. There's no way. The law can't do anything to him and we can't find trouble with him in Far East City. We can only swallow this loss and learn from it. We can't be fooled again. If this kid turns around and leaves now, we won't be able to find Wu Wuti even if we want to. That's right. So far, I still don't know where this kid came from. We're really screwed this time. I'll remember this bastard. I'll beat him up every time I see him in the future. That's right. Don't think that this is over. Sooner or later, there will be a day when we get back at him. Chapter 1095. What happened in Far East City was too big. Millions of people were involved, and the amount of money involved was unheard of. It could be said to be the biggest case in 1,000 years. In just one day, it had spread to the 5 major star regions under the jurisdiction of the Soaring Cloud sect. Countless people knew about it, and it had reached the level of being heard of. It even made the headlines that day and was constantly being reported on. Some reporters even explained the ins and outs of the matter in detail, causing widespread discussion. Oh my god, he cheated $2 billion universe dollars. This Wu Wuti is crazy. I can't earn that much money in my lifetime. Even a cultivator at the treasure refining realm would have to spend years to earn that much money, but this kid earned it in a few days. It's too shocking. It wouldn't be a big deal if it was just a scam, but the most frightening thing is that his methods are completely legal. Even the law can't do anything to him. I shudder at the sight of this case. If I was involved at the time, I probably wouldn't have seen any flaws and would have obediently given the kid the money. Honestly, where did this Wu Wuti come from? His methods are so clever. He must have done a lot of shocking cases. Hurry up and investigate his background. The people of the 5 major star regions, including the Red Cloud Star Domain, the Blue Cloud Star Domain, the Azure Cloud Star Domain, the White Cloud Star Domain, and the Flowing Cloud Star Domain, all knew about this matter. All of them were extremely shocked because the amount of money that had been cheated was extremely shocking. Even the entire net worth of some small families was estimated to be only a few billion universe dollars. Now that this kid had earned $2 billion in one go, many people were jealous. If they could find out Wu Wuti's true identity, a large group of people would probably kill him and rob him of all his money. Naturally, this matter was so big that it alarmed the big families of the 5 major star regions. The news also reached the ears of the elders of these big families. In particular, the families that Xiaoping had offended were the first to receive the news. Wu Wuti? Why does this name sound so familiar? How can it not be familiar? I would recognize him even if he turned to ashes. Isn't this kid the super scammer who swindled our family's children in the novice village? It's the same name. Son of a bitch, he's finally willing to leave the novice village? It's not as simple as coming out. The moment he came out, he committed such a huge crime. It seems that going to the novice village to swindle children was just a small test. It doesn't show his true strength at all. Fuck, I knew this kid wasn't simple. He might be a super swindler from another star field, but I didn't expect him to scam $2 billion. To be honest, the amount is so shocking that I'm even a little impressed. Wu Wuti is a big scammer. From a certain perspective, this kid is indeed a talent. So what if he's a genius? Becoming enemies with so many of our clans is the only way to die. Humph, we finally waited for that coward to come out. He doesn't want to stay in Novice Village and act like a tyrant anymore. He even caused us to suffer so much. This time we must teach him a lesson he won't forget. That's right. Immediately send someone to Far East City to monitor this brat's movements at all times. If there's any sign of trouble, immediately arrest him and torture him to take revenge. After we capture him, the $2 billion universe credits on him will belong to us. That's right. We must get back some of our losses. Many of the clan elders gritted their teeth. They would never forget the humiliation that Xiaoping brought to the novice village. Such a humiliation could not be erased, and they would never give up on revenge. Suddenly, undercurrents surged in the 5 major star fields as countless people rushed to Far East City. Obviously they were all here for Xiaoping. At this moment, Yi Mingyao's group was immediately alarmed by this news. Her close friends were all discussing this headline like a stone that set off 1,000 waves. Mengyao, this Wu Wuti has appeared again, and he even made the headlines in the 5 major star fields. Tiske, I thought that he didn't appear for a long time because he was afraid of the major families, so he disappeared without a trace. I didn't expect that when he appeared, he would do such an earth-shattering crime. He earned 1.2 billion universe credits. My God, this is an astronomical amount. Even the saints and saintesses of the major sects would find it extremely difficult to come up with so much money in such a short time. To be honest, from a certain point of view, I have to hand it to this liar. Yeah, I really want to see what kind of superhuman ability he has. He actually deceived millions of people, and they are even willing to give him money. This is too shocking. Many of her close friends were amazed. Obviously, even though they were of noble status and rich family assets, 1.2 billion universe credits was indeed not a small amount. It was enough to make countless people go crazy. Just this amount of money alone was comparable to some small families. This liar actually came out to commit crimes again. Yi Mingyao gritted her teeth. Originally, after a month or two, she had somewhat forgotten about Wu Wudi's existence. But suddenly, this kid actually caused such big news. Even if she did not want to hear about this person, it was impossible. Especially when she thought about what happened in the virtual network, she gritted her teeth. She wanted to immediately find this big liar Wu Wudi and beat him up. She even wanted to hang this guy up and use all kinds of torture to show this liar how powerful she was. Mengyao, what do you think? Who do you think Wu Wudi's true identity is? Yeah, to be able to do such an earth-shattering thing, he is definitely not an ordinary person. Is it possible that he is a shocking liar from another star field? But the universe is so big and there are many famous liars. I wonder which one he is? Not necessarily. He might be a greenhorn. A group of close friends chattered. They were all very interested in Wu Wudi's true identity. Who knows who he is? It's useless to guess here. When I capture this kid and interrogate him, we will know where he came from. Yi Mingyao clenched her fists, her beautiful eyes flashing with a glimmer of light. Previously in the novice village, because of the suppression of her strength, she could not use her full strength. She was suppressed by this kid, almost causing her to fail miserably. But now that she was in a low-level city, there were many strong people. It was much easier to deal with this kid and there were many ways to deal with him. In just a few minutes, she had already thought of various ways to capture Xia Ping. Chapter 1096. I didn't expect to earn 1.2 billion universe dollars this time. I'm really rich. Xia Ping said with a smile. He didn't expect things to go so smoothly. He earned 1.2 billion universe dollars all of a sudden, which was many times better than what he had expected. Corinne, do you have the feeling of worshipping me now? Xia Ping was immensely proud of himself. Worship my ass. Do you think you haven't caused enough trouble? The entire Far East city is your enemy. When the time comes, where can you run to? Corinne couldn't wait to spit in Xia Ping's face. Before, he had repeatedly urged Xia Ping to keep a low profile. He didn't expect that just after entering the universe, he would cause such a big incident and become the headline news of the day in the 5 major star fields. He suddenly became famous. Now, who didn't know the title of Invincible Swindler? If any guy in the 5 major star fields publicly admitted that he was Invincible Swindler, it was guaranteed that he would be caught and beaten up. If he encountered a victim of deceit, it would be even worse. At the same time, he was also glad that he didn't foolishly join the Soaring Cloud sect. Otherwise, according to this kid's troublemaking character, he would have been caught by the Soaring Cloud sect on the first day and wouldn't have been able to escape. He couldn't imagine how many enemies this guy had in the Soaring Cloud sect. Suddenly, Corinne felt that the future of this trip to the Jianghu sect was a bit gloomy. His body was on the verge of collapse. Provoking this bastard was really bad luck. Even if you were courting death, you wouldn't do it like this bastard, harming others and yourself. It's nothing. Making money is the most important thing. Moreover, the universe is so big. They can't find me. Xia Ping waved his hand, not caring about this matter. If I followed normal means, how could I earn so much money? Extraordinary people do extraordinary things. The weak are prey to the strong. Isn't this the real law of the universe? Corinne was speechless. He had nothing to say. Now he had no choice but to admit that although Xia Ping had caused a huge trouble, the harvest was also quite astonishing. To tell the truth, he was completely stunned by Xia Ping's actions. Even though he was experienced and knowledgeable and lived for God knows how many years, he had never seen such a freak like Xia Ping. He was obviously a Purple Mansion realm cultivator, but in the blink of an eye, he earned 1.2 billion universe dollars. He earned money that ordinary people couldn't earn for God knows how many years. It could be said that this amount of money alone could easily repair a Saint-grade spaceship. Initially, It thought that it would take more than 100 years before there was even a sliver of a chance. But now, it seemed that it had completely underestimated this monster. Even if the old master was at this age and at this realm, he wouldn't have been able to do such a thing. From this point of view, it had no choice but to be convinced. This bastard just loved to cause trouble. He didn't know what it meant to be low-key at all. Could it be that he would die if he didn't offend people? What do you think? After arriving at Jianghu Star, immediately spend money to repair this Saint-class spaceship? Xiaoping turned around and looked at Corinne. When Xiaoping left the Cloud Realm, he had already placed the Saint-grade spaceship in his spatial ring. It was convenient for him to repair it in the universe. Therefore, there was no need for him to return to the Cloud Realm. Since we have 1 billion universe credits, we can, of course, carry out simple repairs. I believe it won't take long before the Multitude Star can be activated again and travel through the universe. Hearing Xiaoping's words, Corinne clenched his fists. He was extremely emotional. He didn't expect to see the Multitude Star sailing through the universe one day, and it was realized so soon. To be able to let such a monster join the Multitude Star sect, it was simply a great fortune for the Multitude Star sect. Sooner or later, the Multitude Star sect would reappear in the universe again. But before that, he hoped that those who had been cheated of a large sum of money by Xiaoping did not discover Xiaoping's true identity and cultivate quietly. After becoming a sage, he would no longer be afraid of those people's revenge. Otherwise, they would definitely be chased by the angry crowd until they had nowhere to go. Multitude Star? Xiaoping was excited. He couldn't wait to feel the horror of the Saint-grade spaceship. It was estimated that driving this Saint-grade spaceship would be many times faster than driving the lunar god ship. Even if there was no weapon system on it, the defense of the Saint-grade spaceship alone could block most attacks like a huge tortoise shell. Beep beep, at this moment the system's voice sounded, "Congratulations to the host. This time, you have received a total of 600 million hatred points. I hope the host will continue to work hard." What? Xiaoping was overjoyed. This action had provoked the anger of a large number of people, causing him to receive 600 million hatred points at once. In addition to the previous hatred points, he had a total of 1.28 billion hatred points. It could be said that he had exceeded 1 billion hatred points in an instant, and he could get a big gift from the system. Sure enough, just as he thought of this, the system's voice sounded again, "The host's hatred points have exceeded 1 billion, and you have received a super gift from the system. Please check and accept." Super gift bag. Xiaoping was very excited. He had worked so hard for so long and finally accumulated 1 billion hatred points. He just didn't know what this system gift bag was. Boom. In the next second, Xiaoping's body shook, and a little green light appeared in the depths of his mind. Then it slowly expanded and finally turned into a light the size of a mung bean. He used his spiritual force to perceive it and was surprised to find that it was not a light, but a seed, a green seed. What is this? Xiaoping instinctively sensed that this green seed was extremely magical. It emitted circles of green energy light around it, condensing into a substance, which seemed to contain majestic life force and vast spatial power. The seed of the world tree. He immediately sensed the information from the system. This was the famous seed of the world tree. In the universe, there were also many strange trees of heaven and earth, such as the 5-element spirit tree, but they were just ordinary spirit trees and were not considered strange objects of heaven and earth at all. If you have to call them strange trees of the universe, then you have to mention the phoenix tree where the phoenix lives, the divine tree where the blue swan lives, and the fusang tree where the golden crow lives. Each of these strange trees of the universe contains extraordinary power, providing these divine beasts with infinite power. It is extremely magical, and it is said that there are mysteries of the universe in it. And this world tree is also enough to be on par with these divine trees above, and in some ways, it is even more mysterious and powerful. It is said that when the world tree really grows up, one leaf is a world, its roots extend to the depths of hell, its top is bathed in the light of heaven, its trunk is indomitable, and its branches form void veins spanning the universe. It itself is a boundless world. Is it going to take root and sprout? Chapter 1097. When the seed of the world tree landed in Xiaoping's purple mansion, it was bathed in the magic power. With a snap, cracks actually appeared on the seed. What? Xiaoping instinctively extended his mental energy and immediately penetrated into the internal state of the seed of the world tree. He instantly felt that he had established a spiritual connection with the seed. Crash, boundless soul spirit energy and magic power surged into the seed of the world tree in a frenzy. It was like a black hole that was crazily engulfing. Dong. After an unknown amount of time, the outer shell of the seed immediately shattered, and a palm-sized sapling actually appeared. It grew in the purple mansion just like that. It was entirely green in color and emitted circles of warm radiance. It contained an unfathomable vitality. It seemed that under the illumination of this radiance, any life's vitality would become incomparably powerful. On the surface of the sapling, there were densely packed imprints and strange patterns. It was like the laws of heaven and earth, faintly resonating with the universe. It gently swayed the branches, and with Xiaoping's body as the center, all the energy of the universe within a radius of a few hundred kilometers surged in crazily. This? Xiaoping instantly felt a trace of horror. All the pores on his body opened up like 108,000 kunpangs, frenziedly engulfing the energy from the depths of the universe. All the energy surged into the interior of the seed of the world tree, providing it with enough energy for continuous growth. Although most of the energy was engulfed by the seed of the world tree, there was still a trace of energy that wasn't completely engulfed. It remained in the purple mansion and was rapidly transformed into magic power. The purple mansion was also expanding bit by bit, evolving towards the late stage of the purple mansion realm. He felt that the seed of the world tree had taken root in the purple mansion realm and had fused with his soul spirit. This space seemed to have become even firmer, forming an unbreakable crystal wall. So magical. Xiaoping felt that he had fused with the seed of the world tree. Their souls were bound together, and his soul spirit was stronger and firmer than before. It was almost unshakable. Even if the soul-devouring beast race came again, they probably wouldn't be able to engulf any trace of soul spirit energy from his body. He even had a deeper understanding of the universe. He resonated with heaven and earth and reached the state of the union of heaven and man. It seemed like he could engulf 10 times more energy with just a slight breath. It could be said that his current cultivation speed was more than 10 times faster than before. It was as though he had an additional cultivation accelerator. No wonder divine beasts need a place to rest. Now, Xiaoping also understood why the phoenix needed to rest on the Wutong tree, the blue luan needed to live in the Jianghu tree, and the golden crow needed to nest on the Fusang tree. It was because these trees were not only homes, but they also provided great assistance to the divine beasts. Cultivating on these divine trees could speed up one's cultivation and stimulate one's bloodline. Even when they were injured, these divine trees would speed up the recovery of the divine beasts. It was extremely magical. However, the world tree is just a seedling. It has yet to reach a mature state. It needs constant watering and growth. Xiaoping clenched his fists. Although he had obtained the sacred tree and obtained boundless benefits, it wasn't easy to let the world tree grow completely. It required a large amount of spirit items, spirit herbs, and spirit water for the world tree to grow continuously. The amount of resources required was simply incalculable and unimaginable. It was equivalent to raising a large amount of resources. However, this was all worth it. Once the world tree grew up, it would be quite terrifying. Who knew how many benefits they would obtain? A few days later. We've arrived at Cosmos Star. Corinne's voice resounded, reminding Xiaoping who was training. We've arrived. Xiaoping opened his eyes. For the past few days, he had been immersed in cultivation and constantly familiarizing himself with the world tree. The more he comprehended, the more he could feel the wonders of the world tree. If he could completely excavate it, he didn't know what stage his cultivation would reach. Even if he only had a little bit of comprehension, he felt that he had benefited a lot. He had almost reached the peak of the middle stage of the Purple Mansion realm and was just a little bit away from breaking through to the late stage of the Purple Mansion realm. At the same time, his soul spirit energy had received a huge increase, and the Purple Mansion realm had become extremely tenacious. This is the Cosmos Star. Xiaoping looked at the scenery of the universe outside and saw a vast and giant planet appearing in front of him. In front of this spaceship, the moon god ship was just like a speck of dust. This planet seemed to be surrounded by colorful gases, and Jianghu couldn't see the situation inside clearly. However, he could feel the vastness and greatness of this planet. It seemed to be densely covered with mysterious array patterns, which contained horrific energy. Once it exploded, it would definitely be earth-shattering. There seemed to be many satellites lingering around the planet, revolving around this planet. Do you see it? There are many satellites revolving around it. This isn't as simple as a reconnaissance satellite. It is also a weapon system, a planetary annihilation weapon. Corinne pointed to the front and said, once an enemy invades, even if they are within 100 light-years, they will be detected by this system and be annihilated from a few light-years away. Because our spaceship doesn't pose a big threat, we didn't receive any warning. If it was a cosmic warship that flew over, it would definitely receive a stern warning. Without submitting an entry application, it wouldn't be able to enter within 100 light-years of this planet. Incredible. Xiaoping was silently amazed. To be able to kill an enemy from 100 light-years away, he didn't know how powerful such a weapon was. It was no wonder that the Cosmos Star was a superpower that ruled over the 5-star regions. He reckoned that this was just the tip of the iceberg. But this planet sure is bustling with activity. Xiaoping looked around. Even if he didn't enter this planet, he could see that in this part of the universe, apart from his moon god ship, there were many other spaceships flying over. These spaceships had all kinds of models. Some were cargo spaceships, some were commercial spaceships, and some were battleships. There were all kinds of strange shapes and were densely packed together. At a glance, there were at least tens of thousands of spaceships flying over. Of course it's bustling. Cosmos Star is the core of the 5-star regions. Countless high-ranking officials and nobles come here. It is also a famous tourist attraction. Corinne smiled slightly and said, the most important thing is that now is Cosmos Star's quadrennial outer court disciple entrance examination. Countless geniuses will fly over from the 5-star regions to participate in the examination. So, it is even more lively than before. Xiaoping was eager to try. Corinne, let's go to Cosmos Star and take a look. It's useless to talk here. He couldn't wait to go to Cosmos Star. Okay. Chapter 1098. Boom. The lunar god ship passed through the atmosphere, and through the virtual screen, Xiaoping saw a huge city directly below, at least 100 times larger than the capital of China on Earth. In this huge city, humans are almost like ants. And in the corner of this city, there is a vast docking port, which is a place for many spaceships to park, equivalent to an airport. Basically, spaceships coming from outside will park here. Beep beep. Suddenly, a strange signal immediately connected to the lunar god ship's channel, and at the same time a mechanical voice sounded, "Guest, your spaceship is not registered, please immediately come to the A-class area to register, otherwise, you will be regarded as an illegal smuggling ship and will be arrested and imprisoned, please pay attention." The language of the voice was standard universe language. Xiaoping had already learned the universe language and mastered it, so he didn't need a translator to directly understand it. For a cultivator who has opened up the Purple Mansion, their brain power is extremely developed, so learning a common language is a very simple matter, and it won't take long. Registration. Xiaoping looked at Corinne. Our spaceship is not registered in the universe, so we can't find relevant information in the virtual network. It is equivalent to an unregistered account, so we must first register. Corinne explained, of course, similar unregistered spaceships can be found in the universe. After all, the universe is incomparably vast, and there are many spaceships coming from other starfields. So, we only need to simply register, there is no need to worry too much. Xiaoping nodded. In that case, what should we do later? He knows that he is a newcomer to the universe and doesn't understand anything. In short, listening to Corinne's words is definitely the right thing to do. First, go to the government to register your identity, join the sphere of influence of Jianghu faction, and become a legal resident of the 5 major starfields. Corinne said in a deep voice, then go to the Universe Bank to open a bank account. In the universe without a bank account, it is simply difficult to move an inch and you don't know where to store your money. Although Xiaoping also had a bank account before, it was a virtual account left by Corinne's old master. It was only a virtual identity, and not a bank account owned by Xiaoping himself. Therefore he still needs to open a bank account that truly belongs to him so that no one can take it away. Universe Bank? Xiaoping was very interested in this organization. The Universe Bank is a superpower in the universe. It can be found on almost every planet. Its power can be compared to the Universal Express delivery companies. Corinne explained, this bank has absolute credibility, strictly keeping the customer's information confidential, no one can inquire about it. For countless years, no one has ever heard of a leak. Many saints would store their wealth in the Universe Bank. Of course, because the Universe Bank is also considered a noble bank, it never accepts small deposits. If you want to open an account in this bank, You need at least 100 million universe credits. Therefore, having a universe bank card is also a symbol of status. You have special privileges in many places. Therefore, having a universe bank account is very beneficial. It held up a finger. Opening a bank account required at least 100 million universe credits. Xiaoping wasn't a complete newbie in the universe. He knew what 100 million universe dollars was like in the universe. He would definitely be considered a nouveau riche. An asset of 100 million universe dollars would be respected no matter where it was in the universe. However, he didn't expect that just opening an account would require 100 million universe dollars as proof. From this, one could imagine that the universe bank's prestige was definitely extraordinary. At this time, under the pole of the docking port, the lunar god ship slowly landed and arrived at an open space in the A-grade area. With a snap, the cabin door opened. Sure enough, this planet has 20 times the gravity of Yanhuang planet. Xiaoping had just left the cabin door when he immediately felt the change in the gravity of this planet. Immediately, he felt several tons of power pressing down on his body. This pressure was not as simple as the muscles and bones. Even the fragile parts of the body such as the heart, blood vessels, lungs and other places were suffering from terrible pressure. If an ordinary martial artist came to this place, they would immediately be crushed by the gravity here, directly pressed to the ground, their lungs injured and vomiting blood. Fortunately, he had advanced to the Purple Mansion realm and had magic power in his body. Boom. Xiaoping circulated the magic power in his body and immediately spread it throughout his body to resist the gravity here. He immediately felt his body relax a lot and he quickly adapted. However, he still felt that the speed of the magic power in his body was a little slower than before, not as fast as before. However, Xiaoping felt a trace of joy because cultivating on a planet with such gravity would definitely speed up his progress by many times compared to cultivating in the sky realm. Once he got used to the gravity here, his combat power would definitely become more terrifying. The heaven and earth spirit chi here is more than 100 times denser than in the cloud realm. Xiaoping took a deep breath and also felt the density of the heaven and earth spirit chi here. It was not comparable to the cloud realm at all. Compared to this, the cloud realm was indeed just a rural place. He slightly circulated the pure yang immortal art, and majestic spirit chi poured into his body, increasing the magic power in his body. Whoosh. At this time, a man in a white uniform, 3 meters tall, black skin and 2 black horns on his head flew over and directly arrived in front of Xiaoping. This was obviously a divine ability realm cultivator, and he was extremely powerful. He was a staff member of this place. When he saw Xiaoping coming out of the spaceship, he sensed that Xiaoping was only at the Purple Mansion realm, but he did not have any intention of underestimating him. After all, in the universe, a person who owned a private spaceship that could travel in the universe was definitely not a simple person. Just his wealth alone was more than most people. He smiled slightly. "Dear sir, welcome to Heaven and Earth planet. Please register here. The parking fee here is 10,000 universe dollars every year." "Sure." Xiaoping nodded. Corinne had already told him many things to take note of, so he was very calm now, as if he was a veteran who often traveled in the universe. Although it was said to be a registration, there was actually nothing to do. It was completely fine as long as he registered the spaceship model and stated his purpose in coming to Heaven and Earth planet. As long as it was not smuggling or doing some illegal things, no one would care. "Are you here to participate in the entrance exam of the Heaven and Earth sect?" The black-skinned staff looked at Xiaoping's registration information, and his smile became even brighter. "You came just in time. There are still a few days before the registration closes. I wish you good luck." "Okay." Chapter 1099. A few hours later, Xiaoping left the port and temporarily parked the lunar god ship here. Then he went to the government office of Jianghu Star. He first dealt with his identity and registered himself as a resident of the starfield ruled by Jianghu sect. Because Jianghu sect's management of the residence was not strict, anyone could register, so Xiaoping completed the registration without much effort. Then he went to the Universe Bank to open his bank account, which was also a very simple matter. After all, Xiaoping now had more than 24 billion universe dollars. For the Universe Bank, he was not a small customer, so opening the bank account went very smoothly. "Okay, go sign up for the entrance exam of Jianghu sect." After finishing these things, Xiaoping planned to sign up. "No need, I have already helped you sign up on the internet. You don't need to go to the site, the registration fee is 10,000 universe dollars." Corinne replied. "What? 10,000 universe dollars? That's too much. Xiaoping knew what the concept of 10,000 universe dollars was. It was equivalent to several months' income of a salaried family. It was not an amount that ordinary people could take out. This is natural. After all, Jianghu sect is a super force of the 6 major starfields. Being able to become an outer disciple of Jianghu sect is simply reaching the sky in one step. It is equivalent to passing the examination to become a government civil servant, or even more valuable. Corinne said in a deep voice, such a huge force naturally has extremely high requirements for disciples. In order to prevent some people from making up the numbers, they set this threshold. People without enough confidence should not participate in the exam, otherwise, it would be like drawing water with a wicker basket. Xiaoping nodded, indicating that he understood this point. He estimated that people who could not even take out 10,000 universe dollars had limited qualifications. If they were really confident, they could definitely take out 10,000 universe dollars after living frugally for a few months. But apart from paying 10,000 universe dollars, are there no other conditions to participate in the exam? Xiaoping asked curiously. Corinne said, of course there are other conditions. The first is that the age cannot exceed 50 years old. People who exceed this age basically do not have much potential, and their martial Dao foundation is already set, so they are not suitable to join Jianghu sect. The second is to at least reach the Purple Mansion realm, at most not surpass the Fulfillment realm, because after reaching the Divine Power realm, they have already condensed the martial Dao Divine Power, and it will be very difficult to cultivate Jianghu sect's cultivation techniques. These two are the necessary conditions. After that, there will be a test to see if you have enough talent. It explained the 2 conditions for participating in the Heaven and Earth sect's assessment. Oh, that's right, the assessment time is this afternoon and it will start soon. You must go as soon as possible. At this time, Corinne suddenly remembered something and immediately reminded. Xiaoping was shocked. It can't be. We've just registered and we're going to be assessed? You can also delay the test, but since we've already arrived at Cosmo Star, there's no need to delay the test. Do you want to continue wasting time? Immortal Cat said, moreover, the result of the assessment is also very fast. Generally, the result of passing or not will be announced on the spot. That's interesting. Where will the test be held? Xiaoping asked. It is in the central square of this city. That place is the entrance test site belonging to Jianghu faction. Countless people will go to that place to participate in the exam. Corinne said, we will take a taxi from here, we will soon arrive there. A few minutes later, Xiaoping and Corinne arrived at the central square. So many people. Just as he arrived at the square, Xiaoping discovered that the square was already filled with densely packed crowds of people of different shapes. Some people had extremely long legs, 2 or 3 meters long, and their bodies were slender. They were called the long-legged race. They had a pair of strong and powerful legs, and with one kick, a hill would collapse. They were extremely frightening. Some people had dozens of eyes on their faces, and they looked very frightening. They were the multi-eyed race. Legend has it that each eye contained a mysterious power. Some people's hands were very long, 3 meters long, and they hung on the ground. Their palms were the size of palm leaf fans. It seemed that with a casual pinch, a rock as tall as a person would be crushed into powder. They were the long-handed race. The strength of their hands was unparalleled, and they could be said to have innate divine strength. In addition, there were many special races in the square. Each of them exuded an unusual aura. Moreover, they were at least Purple Palace realm cultivators, and their imposing manner was frightening. Wow, is this the Heaven and Earth sect? It's really too imposing. If I can join the Heaven and Earth sect, it is simply reaching the sky in one step. In the future, I won't have to worry about food and clothing, and glory, splendor, wealth and rank will be within my grasp. I am the hope of our entire village. I must join the Heaven and Earth sect. Otherwise, I will be letting down the elders of the village. Indeed. In order to come to the Heaven and Earth star, I have spent God knows how much money. This time I definitely can't fail. Many young geniuses clenched their fists, and their eyes were filled with determination. For ordinary people, it was really difficult to come to the Heaven and Earth star and participate in the test that happened once every 4 years. The money spent wasn't something that ordinary people could afford. Therefore, this was an opportunity, a chance for them to become a dragon. They all wanted to grab hold of it. Once they became a disciple of the Heaven and Earth sect, even if they were just an outer disciple, their status would be higher than the leader of an ordinary planet. In the future, they might even have the chance to be sent to other countries to take up important positions and rule over countless planets. When they went out to travel, they would be dragons among men. Countless people would go up to them and flatter them. It could be said that this test was even more important than the ancient imperial examinations. The Heaven and Earth Sex test that happened once every 4 years simply caused the youngsters of the 6 starfields to move upon hearing of it. Even if they had to spend a huge sum of money, they would still come to participate in the test. All of them wanted to fight for the hope of becoming outstanding. Wanting to join the Heaven and Earth sect is extremely difficult, extremely difficult. Look at the people who came to participate in the test. All of them are geniuses from various races. That's right. This is especially so for those from great clans, great landlords, and great millionaires. They are innately stronger than us. Moreover, they have many spirit medicines and treasures to consume. Their cultivation bases are astonishing and their potential is boundless. There's no way we can compare to them. Do you see the people in front? Those are all princes and grandsons of some feudal vassals. Even these people came to compete with us, but they might not be able to pass the test. If ordinary people like us want to pass, I wonder how difficult it is. There were also many people who felt apprehensive. Originally, they were still filled with confidence, thinking that they were geniuses from various places and had great hopes of passing the test to enter the Heaven and Earth sect. But when they saw so many princes and grandsons of great clans appearing in this place, all of them had astonishing cultivation bases and grew up eating peerless spirit medicines. They even received systematic nurturing and had great teachers guiding them. Chapter 1100. There are so many people. Xiaoping looked around and saw that there were people everywhere in the square. They were so densely packed that there seemed to be a long queue. He grabbed a person next to him and asked, "May I know where the test will be held?" "It's here. Do you see the queue? The people who are taking the test are all queuing up. As long as it's your turn, you can quickly take the test." The person answered patiently. Xiaoping looked over and saw that there were many queues in the square. Many people were queuing up, but the test hadn't started yet. The candidates in the square were basically waiting quietly. There are so many people. How long do I have to queue? Xiaoping looked at the long queue. Each queue had hundreds to thousands of people. If it was really his turn, it would probably be dark already. He didn't have the patience to wait for so long. Suddenly he saw that there seemed to be a team in front of the queue. There seemed to be a small number of people, forming an empty area. It was clearly separated from the others, and there were only a few dozen people. If he lined up in this queue, it would probably be his turn very soon. Isn't there a team with very few people there? That's strange. Why didn't they line up there? How stupid. Xiaoping acted as if he had found some treasure and immediately walked over. Wait, that place. When the person saw that Xiaoping was trying to go over to that team, his expression instantly changed. He wanted to stop Xiaoping, but it was too late. Xiaoping's speed was too fast, and he reached that area in an instant. Shoo. Xiaoping's figure flashed and immediately arrived at the back of that team, entering the area. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. When he entered the area, the people around him all looked at him with extremely strange expressions. Especially the dozens of people in the queue, all of them turned back to look at Xiaoping with unfriendly expressions. Where did this country bumpkin come from? Scram immediately. Suddenly a roar was heard. It was like the rumbling of thunder, condensing into a substance and spreading over a radius of a few miles, causing pain in the eardrums of the surrounding people. It was incomparably domineering. The person who spoke was a strong man who was 5 meters tall. His entire body was filled with muscles and his face was ferocious. He looked extremely ferocious and his entire body was filled with terrifying killing intent. He wore luxurious clothes and there were precious gems on his fingers. A golden necklace hung around his neck, and there were also gem pendants in his ears. He was surrounded by the aura of treasures. With one look, one could tell that this strong man was very rich, like a downright nouveau riche. Who do you think you are? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes and looked at the muscular man in front of him. My name is Gato, the son of Marquis Lulan of the Guard Kingdom. The muscular man, Gato, sneered. Which one of the people lining up here isn't a noble or a descendant of an ancient family? All of them are of noble status. You country bumpkin, where did you come from? You're a lowly commoner. How dare you stay here? Don't you know that this area is off limits to commoners and dogs? He looked at Xia Ping with contempt as if he was looking at an ant. What? This fellow was the son of the Guard Kingdom's Marquis Lulan? Descendants of nobles? The Guard Kingdom can be considered a strong country among the 6 great starfields of the Jianghu sect. It has jurisdiction over 87,653 planets, and its population is over 1 trillion. There are many experts there, and the feudal vassals of the Guard Kingdom also wield great authority and are insufferably arrogant. No wonder he's so arrogant. The son of a feudal vassal has an astonishing background. Who would dare to offend him? That area is a place where only the descendants of nobles or the successors of ancient families can enter. It's equivalent to a VIP area and has many special privileges. There's no need to line up for the examination, and commoners are basically off-limits. Since this fellow dares to barge in, he's done for. This fellow can be considered unlucky. He doesn't know the rules here and got himself into trouble. I reckon this young man thinks that there aren't many people here and that he can save time from lining up. He doesn't know that commoners don't even dare to enter. He has committed a taboo. The surrounding people discussed and looked at Xia Ping with pity in their eyes. Offending the son of Marquis Lulan, they didn't know what kind of miserable ending they would end up in. In the universe, the disparity between races and even between humans was even greater. The social classes between them were almost insurmountable, like a chasm. Those who were weak would easily become slaves, never to rise again. If commoners dared to go against the nobles, only death awaited them. I can't enter? Xia Ping looked at the surroundings and calmly said, "There's no word forbidden here. Could it be that this place is your house? Is the Jianghu sect opened by your family? Your father is the sect leader of the Jianghu sect." What? Hearing this, the surrounding people were scared half to death. All of them were so shocked that their jaws dropped and their faces turned pale. This bastard actually dared to provoke them at this moment, slapping their faces in public. He was simply courting death. If this fellow had admitted his mistake obediently and left quickly, perhaps nothing would have happened. However, with such a provocation, how could the son of Marquis Lulan let him off? "Shut up, you bastard." As expected, the huge man Gato's expression was extremely ugly. He glared at Xia Ping and said, "The place where we descendants of nobles are at is a forbidden zone. It's a forbidden zone for commoners like you. You can't enter. This is the rule." "You actually dare to provoke me? Do you want to have your bones crushed and your entire clan exterminated?" His body emitted a violent, baleful aura, scaring the surrounding people into retreating rapidly, afraid that they would be implicated. "Oh, bite me if you have the guts." Xia Ping stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the huge man Gato. "Ah, Gato, looks like you don't have enough imposing manner. A mere commoner dares to provoke you? This brat wants you to bite him. He's clearly treating you like a dog. If it were me, I definitely wouldn't be able to stand it. If this brat continues to be so arrogant, Gato, you'll be disgraced. Is this still the son of Marquis Lulan?" Immediately, everyone in the area laughed loudly, looking as if they were watching a good show. They constantly ridiculed Gato, clearly wanting to add fuel to the fire and make the matter bigger. "Commoner, you're looking to die." Sure enough, hearing these words, Gato could no longer stand it. His face alternated between green and white. He clenched his cauldron-sized fist and punched towards Xia Ping. All the muscles in his body swelled and every inch of his muscles vibrated. It was as if the surrounding air was vibrating thousands of times. With his body as the center, he suddenly became the center of a storm. Countless air currents wrapped around his body, seemingly for his use. A terrifying power instantly erupted like a flood. So powerful. The surrounding people were all extremely shocked. Feeling the strong wind that was enough to tear the earth apart, they all retreated hundreds of meters, turning this place into a temporary battlefield. Chapter 1101. What's going on? Isn't he only at the peak of the Purple Mansion realm? How can he be so strong? His strength is too terrifying. Just the wind alone is enough to flatten a small mountain. Someone was shocked. They didn't expect Gato's strength to be so terrifying. Of course, he's the son of Marquis Lulan after all. It's said that Marquis Lulan has the bloodline of the giants and has unparalleled strength. Gato obviously inherited this bloodline and is even better than his father. Not only that, Gato has been carefully nurtured since he was young and bathed in the blood of flood dragons and other rare spirit herbs. His body has been tempered like a monster and is invincible. That's right. Don't be fooled by Gato's arrogance. He has the strength and reason to be arrogant. Ordinary people can't even take a punch from him. Is this the strength of a marquis descendant? How can a commoner compare to them? That kid is dead for sure. He probably won't even have the strength to pass the test after this punch. It's over. This kid's life is over. The surrounding people were all shocked. Although they were unwilling to be looked down upon by the nobles, the gap between the commoners and the nobles was too big. The more developed the society, the greater the gap between the commoners and the nobles. It was almost insurmountable. Many people also felt a sense of pity for Xiaoping's future. Go to hell. Gato's face was ferocious. Like an ancient mammoth, he smashed his fist over. Such strength was countless times stronger than a Purple Mansion realm monarch in the cloud world. Even a normal fulfillment realm monarch couldn't compare. The gap was too big. His eyes revealed a cruel look as if he could see the arrogant commoner in front of him being defeated with one punch, vomiting blood and begging for mercy on the ground. What? But in the next second, his hair stood on end. Every cell in his body was warning him that danger was approaching. Gato's pupils constricted because he saw Xiaoping, who was originally in front of him, suddenly close to him. The speed was so fast that he couldn't react at all. Dong. Xiaoping immediately punched out and smashed Gato's abdomen. Not good. Gato's expression changed drastically. That fist, which was many times smaller than his, smashed on his steel-like body, but it exploded with the power of a nuclear bomb. A spiraling fist force blasted toward him, constantly rotating in his abdomen. Even though he had cultivated an extremely powerful defensive technique, it was still torn apart in an instant under such a spiral fist energy. The terrifying fist energy was transmitted into his body inch by inch. Immediately, Gato let out a blood-curdling screech. His enormous body was flung away and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood in midair. With a thud, his entire body fell to the ground, sending up a large amount of dust. His eyes turned white and he foamed at the mouth. Suddenly he passed out just like that. Xiaoping stood on the spot, looking calmly at Gato who had fallen at his feet. Impossible. The many noble sons who had been watching the show were all aghast. They couldn't believe their eyes. The famous son of the Lulan Marquis, the one with the bloodline of the giants, the powerful and valiant Gato, had been knocked out by this commoner with one punch and couldn't even struggle. My God, what did my eyes see? Gato, the famous Gato, was beaten to the ground with a single punch. You must be joking. Just one punch and Gato is already on the ground. What the hell happened? Everyone was shocked as they stared at Xiaoping, who was standing on the ground. They were very clear about Gato's strength. Although Gato was arrogant and looked down on commoners, they had to admit that Gato's strength was definitely extraordinary. It was not something commoners could compare to. Commoners who dared to provoke Gato were simply asking for death. But now that they saw this scene, they were all stunned and didn't know what to say. Who else is not convinced? Jump out and shout. Xiaoping looked calmly at the noble's sons and stood with his hands behind his back. Bastard. Hearing this, the noble's sons were so angry that their faces turned green. This brat was clearly provoking them in public. He wanted to slap their faces in front of everyone. Instantly, some of them clenched their fists, wanting to go up and teach this arrogant commoner a lesson. What's going on? What the hell happened? Don't you know that no personal conflicts are allowed in the test plaza? If anyone goes against this, they will be immediately expelled from the test plaza and will never be hired again. Just at this moment, a few middle-aged men walked over from afar. They were dressed in black and had unfathomable strength. They arrived here in an instant and berated the nobles. Immediately, the nobles' sons and daughters became a little nervous. Even though they had a deep background, they were not as powerful as the Jianghu faction. If they caused trouble here and were discovered by the Jianghu faction, they would definitely not be able to continue participating in the test. If this was their territory, they would have 10,000 ways to kill this commoner. But this was the Jianghu faction's territory. Who would dare to be impudent here? No. You guys have misunderstood. Right, this is just a misunderstanding. Actually, we were just playing around. That's right, nothing major happened at all. There's no need to alarm all of you. Many noble sons and daughters went up and explained that nothing major happened here. There was no conflict and it was just a joke between companions. At the same time, some people immediately carried the unconscious Gato up and covered for each other, pretending that nothing had happened. It's good that nothing happened. The test is about to begin, so don't cause trouble here. Otherwise, no one will be able to protect you. The black-robed man warned. After speaking, these people turned and left. Since the person involved said that nothing happened, there was no need for them to blow up the matter. This wouldn't be of much benefit to both sides. Brat, don't be too arrogant. You dare to offend us? It's useless even if you flee to the ends of the world. Be careful in the test later. It's fine if you succeed, but if you fail, you will be in for a good time. Many nobles' sons and daughters gritted their teeth and glared at Xia Ping. This lowly commoner defeated Gado with a single punch, causing them to lose face in front of so many people. As nobles, how could they endure this? What are you shouting for? If you have the guts, come and bite me now. Do you guys not have the guts? Xia Ping spoke in disdain. Bastard. Immediately, these nobles' sons and daughters were angered to death. They simply wanted nothing more than to go up and beat this brat up. Chapter 1102. This bastard is too arrogant. I really want to kill him. Don't act recklessly. The people from Jianghu sect are watching. If anyone dares to cause trouble here, they will definitely not be able to participate in the exam. That's right, a little impatience will spoil great plans. This brat is not afraid of being chased away. In any case, he might not be able to pass the exam. However, we are different. If we are really chased away, we will suffer a great loss. That's right. Let's endure it for now. Once we pass the exam, that brat is dead for sure. Many of the rich and powerful people gritted their teeth and stared hatefully at Xia Ping. They simply wanted to immediately pounce over and tear this brat apart, turning him into countless pieces of flesh. What's wrong? What are you looking at? If you have the guts, come over. Weren't you very arrogant earlier? Xia Ping shouted. Hearing this, the faces of these rich and powerful people darkened. Their hearts were filled with anger, but they ignored him. They all turned their heads and completely ignored this brat. In any case, they were determined not to have a conflict with this brat here. The world was big, but nothing was more important than joining the Jianghu sect. The people in the surroundings were also speechless. They had never seen such a reckless person before. Dong dong dong. Just at this moment, over 10 old men flew over from the sky. They walked in the air, using the sky as a flight of stairs as they slowly landed on the square. Instantly, all the examinees in the square fell silent. They solemnly stared at these old men. They all knew that these were elders from the Jianghu sect. They were truly important characters, and their strength was at least above the treasure-refining realm. Experts like them were like governors in the various powerful countries in the universe. No one dared to offend them. If they were to be disrespectful in front of such important characters, their exam results would be frozen. One of the examiners stood out and said, "Examinees, the mission this time is very simple. Whoever can defeat this puppet will become an outer sect disciple of the Jianghu sect." So, he waved his hand and immediately, a huge figure appeared on the ground. It was 5 meters tall and completely black. It emitted a baleful, brutal, and bloody aura. All the examinees in the square were stunned by this figure. They didn't dare to say a single word. Xia Ping looked over and immediately saw the true face of this figure. It had a humanoid appearance. Its entire body was pitch black, and its skin looked like it was covered in black armor. It was covered in scales, had a green face and fangs. Its 2 claws were like hooks, incomparably sharp. His entire body was filled with muscles that were as hard as steel. His entire body's bones were like titanium alloy. The slightest movement would cause crackling sounds like frying beans. No way, all I have to do is defeat this puppet? Is the test that simple? Some people didn't dare to believe it, feeling that the content of the Universe Factions test was too simple. Simple? What a joke, what an ignorant fellow. You probably don't know how terrifying this puppet is. It's a puppet forged from the corpse of a fierce beast in the universe. His bones are as hard as steel. Ordinary attacks basically have no effect on this fierce beast puppet. It's like a mosquito bite. Someone sneered and said, "Moreover, it has been forged by the Heaven and Earth sect's superb artifact refinement techniques, retaining this vicious beast's savage nature. It has endless power and is a downright killing machine. If you don't have enough martial arts skills and experience, it's impossible to deal with this fierce beast puppet. You'll be killed in a single move." Many of the examinees had grave expressions. In fact, the previous test also required the examinees to defeat this fierce beast puppet, but the majority of the examinees failed and couldn't even withstand a single move. It was definitely not an easy task to defeat this fierce beast puppet. The first examinee come up and accept the test. The main examiner didn't bother about the fear of these examinees and immediately announced the start of the test. The examinees who were queued up immediately accepted the test and arrived at an empty space in the plaza. As soon as that examinee came up, this fierce beast puppet let out a shocking roar. It was as fast as a cheetah and instantly left its original position, pouncing towards that examinee. The terrifying sharp claws tore the violent wind and broke through 20 times the sound barrier. Ordinary Purple Mansion realm cultivators couldn't even see the speed of this fierce beast puppet. That examinee didn't know what happened and was instantly struck by this fierce beast puppet. One of his arms was torn off on the spot and was sent flying in mid-air, drenched with blood. Just like that, he fell onto the ground and was wailing incessantly. His eyes were filled with fear, and he was screaming miserably while his face was deathly pale. A single strike was enough to severely injure him and cause him to lose the ability to fight again. This fierce beast puppet still wanted to make a move and attempted to smash that examinee's head with its claw, but it was stopped by a gentle wave of the main examiner's hand. This examinee barely managed to keep his life. Test failed. Next. The main examiner was expressionless. He grabbed with his large hand and dragged the examinee with the severed arm out. He then threw the examinee to the medical staff at the side and asked them to treat the injury and reconnect the severed arm. According to the current medical technology in the universe, severed arms could be regrown, and this wasn't considered a serious injury. But the pain of having an arm severed was enough to carve the examinee's heart and leave a psychological scar. This must be a joke. That examinee is at the peak stage of the Purple Mansion realm, but his arm was severed by that fierce beast puppet in a single move. This is too terrifying. Is this still a test? If the main examiner didn't rescue him in time, that examinee would have died. His head would have been crushed by a single claw, and he wouldn't even have a complete corpse. Breaking arms and legs at every turn. It's too bloody and cruel. The examinees in the surroundings were all astonished, and all of them felt their hearts trembling. The majority of the examinees lived on peaceful planets and rarely experienced such a bloody scene. This was especially so for those who lived like princes and were born in influential families. They had never experienced many life and death crises, and they had never fought against an enemy that wanted their lives. Upon seeing such a terrifying fierce beast puppet, their courage decreased by 30%. But the test didn't stop according to their wishes. One examinee after another went up to accept the test and fought against the puppet. Their ending was also incomparably miserable, and they were eliminated one after another. They either had their arms severed or their legs bitten off. There were even some unlucky ones who had their vital parts bitten off. Although that thing could still be reconnected, it was unknown if it was still useful or not. These examinees weren't able to withstand a single move from that fierce beast puppet. The medical staff in the surroundings seemed to have long since known of this situation. Their actions were extremely practiced, and they immediately sent all these examinees away to the nearby hospital for emergency treatment. I'm not taking the test anymore. This isn't a test at all. This is killing people. Madman, only a madman would take this test. I came to the Jianghu sect to enjoy life, not to send myself to death. How can we defeat such a monster? Stop joking. Chapter 1103. Seeing such a situation, the surrounding examiners were expressionless and didn't stop them. People without strength and courage weren't suitable to be heaven and earth sect's disciples. Honestly speaking, withdrawing from the exam was for their own good. Of course, this could also greatly reduce the examiner's workload. Not long after, a portion of the examinees retreated. They left the square and withdrew from the exam. Instantly, the square lost half of its people. The number of people in each line decreased by quite a bit. Next. The examiner continued. Yes. At this moment, a gray-robed young man walked out. He held a 3-foot sword in his hand and had a calm demeanor. There was arrogance on his face. He was one of the disciples from influential families. Even though many examinees were frightened into withdrawing from the exam, he wasn't worried at all. He was still filled with confidence and even looked at the other examinees with disdain. In an instant, the beast puppet pounced over once more. It was as fast as lightning. Even though it had experienced many battles, it didn't matter to the puppets. They didn't have any stamina. As long as they weren't completely destroyed, they could continue fighting forever. They were monsters that didn't know fatigue. It was almost impossible to wear them down with a prolonged battle. Green Willow Sword Technique. The gray-robed young man swung the sword in his hand. His body was like a willow leaf that drifted with the wind. No matter how fast the puppet was, it couldn't catch up to him. His sword technique was also very elegant, like a willow leaf, unfathomable. It also contained an extremely strong sword intent. When the sword pierced over, it felt like it could tear the earth apart. Ping ping ping. The two sides were almost locked in battle, and after hundreds of moves, the gray-robed man finally found a flaw and stabbed the fierce beast puppet's throat with his sword. With a bang, the puppet's entire body collapsed. It stopped moving and fell to the ground, unable to move. Pass. The examiner revealed a smile. After such a long time, he finally recruited a decent disciple. The gray-robed young man wiped the sweat off his face and was instantly filled with joy. He entered the Heaven and Earth sect and became an outer sect disciple. From now on, his status would be different. The others looked over and all of them were filled with envy and jealousy. Next, the examinees went up one by one. The majority of them couldn't even withstand a single move and were eliminated. However, there were also some who gave it their all and dealt with the ferocious beast puppets, successfully becoming an outer sect disciple of the Jianghu sect. Next, the examiner said mechanically. This time it was finally Xiaoping's turn. He's here. That kid is finally going on stage. I wonder if he can pass the test. Although he dealt with Gato just now and displayed quite a bit of strength, the odds are only 50-50. Indeed. Previously, Gato must have underestimated this brat too much. That's why he was careless for a moment and allowed himself to be caught. However, this ferocious beast puppet is different. It has no emotions and will not underestimate anyone. In any case, the assessment will begin soon. Whether it's a donkey or a horse, we'll know once we drag it out for a walk. If this kid doesn't pass the test, there will be a good show to watch. Offending so many influential people is no joke. The people around him were all chattering, especially those rich and powerful children. All of them looked at Xiaoping ferociously with their arms crossed in front of their chests, as if they were watching a good show. Whoosh! Xiaoping's figure flickered, arriving at an empty space in front of him. Barehanded? Do you need a weapon? The examiner looked at Xiaoping and found it a little strange because Xiaoping didn't have any weapons or equipment on him. One had to know that in order to pass the test, the others were basically armed to the teeth and took out whatever treasures they had. Of course, powerful treasured weapons were still prohibited. Only some ordinary weapons were allowed. Otherwise, it would be the power of the treasured weapon and not the person's own strength. There's no need. Fists are the best weapons. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back. Fuck, he only knows how to act cool. Those rich and powerful children had unfriendly expressions. They needed weapons, but this kid didn't. Wasn't this clearly mocking them and saying that he was superior to them? They cursed in their hearts, hoping that this kid would be killed by the ferocious beast puppet in one move and have his head chopped off. Good. You have courage. Release the puppet. The examiner nodded and announced the start of the test. Whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, the ferocious beast puppet's eyes revealed a trace of blood-red light. Terrifying killing intent surged from its body. Its body was wrapped in an air current and it rushed towards Xiaoping. In mid-air, it only left a black shadow. Ordinary people couldn't even see its speed. So fast. The surrounding people exclaimed. Even though they had seen the ferocious beast puppet's speed many times, it was enough to make them exclaim every time. It was indeed a ferocious beast of the universe. Dong. In an instant, the ferocious beast puppet extended its sharp claws. It contained a terrifying force and was like a sword that pierced through everything. In an instant, it reached Xiaoping's body. Is this kid retarded? Why isn't he dodging? The group of people was stunned because they realized that Xiaoping didn't dodge at all. He just stood there and let the ferocious beast puppet attack him. Based on the strength of the ferocious beast puppet's attack, without a doubt, if he didn't dodge, he would definitely be torn into pieces and turned into a pile of minced meat. He must have been scared silly and can't move. Many rich and powerful children sneered and felt extremely carefree. It was as if they could already see the scene of Xiaoping being killed. Bang! In the blink of an eye, the ferocious beast puppet slammed into Xiaoping's body, causing a huge explosion. It was as if hundreds of tons of bombs exploded at the same time. What? The surrounding people's pupils shrunk. It was as if they had seen an unbelievable scene. Because when the ferocious beast puppet's attack reached Xiaoping, it was blocked by a layer of qi. Although the qi looked very weak, it was extremely tough. No matter how hard the ferocious beast puppet tried, It couldn't break through the chi at all. It was firmly blocked outside. This situation made the ferocious beast puppet a little dumbfounded. It had never encountered such a situation before. There was actually a living being that could resist its attack and remain unharmed. Fuck off. Xiaoping didn't even look at it. He suddenly attacked. His right hand lightly slapped the ferocious beast puppet's body. Boom. With just one hit, the ferocious beast puppet was instantly slapped into the ground, creating a huge pit. Cracks appeared on the ground like a spider web, covering hundreds of meters. Its arms and legs were constantly struggling, like a spider that was on the verge of death. It was shaking non-stop. Large amounts of sparks were coming out from the broken parts. It was extremely heavily damaged. Even if it wanted to struggle, it couldn't do anything. Test passed. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.